My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. See thepatternofconduct.wordpress.com.
It's 2:33 a.m. This is Union Pacific, and this is amplified audible activity, use of ongoing audible activity in engineered light, monitoring with the people of the state at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. And it is currently, again, 2:33 on Monday, May 16, 2022. It's demonic activity. Engaging in what is 9 consecutive extended long train horns, as though that's the train. The moment I press record, immediately stops. Okay? And it's maintaining the ongoing constant sound, the constant volume. It's not the sound of the train. It's not going anywhere. The entity is maintaining noise. And immediately that noise ceases as I begin recording. This is demonic activity. That is for the prosecution of what is Union Pacific. Okay, Union Pacific is fully engaged in the pattern of conduct with the state, fully engaged in the demonic system. And I want to be clear, the entity is just is engaging in nothing other than creating the ongoing constant chorus of a train sounding at a constant volume that's not moving anywhere. All right. There's no train on the tracks. And in addition, those train sounds where it's sounding 9 and 10 times in a row incessantly at a constant volume where there's no train sounding as though it's on the tracks. All right. And it immediately stops as I start recording right now. This is what the entity has been doing. That's why I documented that moments ago. The entity is maintaining noise using Union Pacific as the guise under which trains are just pacing back and forth on the train tracks. And this is actually not the case. The entity is surrounding with the ongoing maintenance of audible activity. It's noise occurring under the guise of a train. And this is Satan that is literally ceasing the sound of that train as I begin recording Satan. This is demonic activity. This is terrorism, and the people of the state are stalking at the museum as well. All right, and this consists of the pattern of the people of the state engaged in what is sitting around, pacing around, walking around the museum, just engaging in surveillance while the entity maintains that noise level in engineered light, which is group stalking. That's P.O.C. It's 2:56 a.m. YEF458, and FedEx is group stalking at the 150 East Holt Boulevard, the San Bernardino County Public Health Clinics. Stalking the path with light activity while the entity is at the museum, keeping its fake sun at the same position that I captured at 5:35 p.m. yesterday. Stalking by a helicopter as well, flying directly over me. 71027P1, and FedEx is group stalking with the minions engaging in surveillance in the parking lot, including the sheriff's department. All right, what you're looking at is a minion that's crossing paths. She's engaged in surveillance in her car. She walks out, which is crossing the path. She's been engaged in surveillance. She's exiting immediately, license 5KXS529. She's group stalking with FedEx, group stalking with the Sheriff's Department. That's federal prison. License 1133567 is the Sheriff's Department, the license plate while they are crossing path. And so is FedEx. That's federal prison. Okay, FedEx is on surveillance cameras inside of 150 East Holt. They're engaging with group stalking while the entity is flying over me by helicopter, which is a threat. to your life, the ongoing terrorism, and the people of the state using a commercial vehicle to do so, and facilitating that with light activity under the fake sun and indirected light. The minion that's at the museum, this white male, you can clearly see his face. He is monitoring while the entity is flying over me by helicopter at the museum. He's monitoring with the sheriff's department. That is the grounds of federal prison. All right. And as the Ontario police have already demonstrated, they are monitoring with the Ontario police. This is grounds of federal prison. 8BLX 971, 5NXV 716, 8DZX 574. This is P.O.C. And it's currently 8:51 a.m., which you'll see in still images. 8YXY 655 and crossing path. ISHH, that's a heavyweight Latino male crossing path on transit as I'm walking. He's tracking my steps. He's monitoring with the sheriff's department at the grounds of federal prison. He's driving this ugly mustard gold Scion, these box cars. He's group stalking with the sheriff's department right now. That's P.O.C. What you'll see in still images, 8UMC 573, is the entity's light source is directly over me at the museum, again in the same position as I showed you another vantage point of the same exact position, and impossible placement, no reconciling, because there's no way that the sun is going to be over that building for me to see it while I'm standing on the side of the There's no reconciling that. It's in the same position it is in the morning as I just captured again today. And this Caucasian male is monitoring. He's stalking in the path. He's in perfect alignment with me. In other words, where I'm at the museum, packing up my belongings, where also the entity flew directly over me by helicopter. And is doing so while surveillance is underway at the 150 East Hope Boulevard. That's the San Bernardino County building where I'm reading license plates right now. All right, so it's 8:52 a.m. and you'll see those still images. That's the P.O.C. Monitoring with Ontario Police and directed light 8GXT 272. $8:53 a.m. 1582404 is Ontario Police. 6HPJ046, I believe, monitoring with the Ontario Police. 19609M2, monitoring with the Ontario Police, engaged in criminal summoning. 8LMG190, criminal summoning. And that's American Medical Response, criminal summoning. Monitoring with directed light. That's what that one is, 8LMG190, with the Ontario Police and criminal summoning. Federal prison. Sheriff's Department is still loitering. They're engaged in criminal summoning. I read that license plate. It's an overweight white male. He's engaged in criminal summoning at the 150 East Hope Boulevard. 68244W2, criminal summoning. 32395E2, criminal summoning. The white male whose image I captured at the museum, he's engaged in criminal summoning. 8ZVR892, 78090J3, 8UWK249, 7RGE080, 75861S1. That's criminal summoning 75861S1. Criminal summoning. And you'll see the directed light beside those demons in that ambulance. 6NLN583. 7MLW778. 7BFD802. 7ERG915. Southwest Airlines engaged in criminal summoning. Get you that. License plate. 8SJX197. AGJD208, Croy Trucking, 4UCF403, 7CJP013. That's the employee from Upland Public Library, the Asian female. She's engaged in criminal summoning, group stalking in Ontario. It is 8:55 a.m. The Sheriff's Department, let me show you this because they're going to federal prison. Okay. Alrighty, that's the maniacal conduct of the entity. I'm reading those in relevant position. Let me be clear. American Medical Response sounding its sirens and lights while it's approaching on Euclid Avenue driving north, and then it stops at the red light. As I approach them to document their license plate, then they begin their sirens again while they kept their lights on sitting at the red light. Okay, turn the sirens off. They kept their lights on. It's criminal summon. It's light activity creation under the fake sun with real-time knowledge of the fact that I'm documenting. The Ontario police officer that I documented, they're engaged in criminal summoning while they're crossing path. American Medical Response is monitoring with them. That's the state acting directly. These minions are engaged in criminal summoning, including the Sheriff's Department. Okay, that was license 09337H1 MYF 5150, C997W1. 04140B3 7AYF511. Allied Universal, the company. They are inside of 150 East Holt Boulevard, monitoring with the people of the state, monitoring with the minions that are employed at the venue, San Bernardino County. Inside of 150 East Holt, they're engaged in criminal summoning. They're monitoring with the Sheriff's Department. They're monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, that entire entity, okay? And that's just where I'm standing right now. Across the street, you're talking about the venues that are around. 7GTU310, 8GJD208, and Croy Trucking, again, CROY. 1087360, I believe, but I can't really see their license plate, but that's Croy Trucking, CROY Trucking. Engaged in criminal summoning and monitoring with the Sheriff's Department, the American Medical Response. License 7, oh, I read that one already. Already, it's currently 8:56 a.m. This is P.O.C. at the intersection of Holt Boulevard and Euclid and Ontario, where the entity is keeping a fake sun, and it's in the same position that it was yesterday at 5:35 p.m. And the entity engaging in what is stalking with the helicopter, just as I captured in video at 5:45 p.m. as I pointed out that detail. And this is the cartoon environment that demons are sounding sirens in, and group stalking by police. And as I identify the fact that they are stalking with police, including FedEx, is engaged in criminal summoning, I understand that. That's exactly what they're doing. 7BTK730. While FedEx is stalking with light, FedEx is engaged in criminal summoning, monitoring with the Ontario Police, who then visually cross path. They were monitoring and group stalking the entire time. They've already demonstrated their ongoing obsessive stalking conduct and their criminal efforts to obstruct justice, while they are serving for what is the evidence against the people of the state who are going to federal prison, monitoring with them. 6ZTN747, 8DVS962. Directed light across 150 East Holt, while 6ZTN747 crosses path. That's a demon. 9E59378, Van Mater Lumber Company. And again, this directed light behind the building around me while that one demon drives by is identification of this one. They're monitoring together. They're demons alike. 8DVS962. FSA, Family Service Association, a molester. 9909183. Group stalking with directed light. This Latina female, a sex offender. 48339P1, molesting with directed light. And doing so while monitoring in relevant position under the fake sun. 4GGK762. This is a sex offender, license 8XNA163. Suppose you drive, license 43812L3, sex offenders, molesting. Monitoring with the entity that is group stalking by the Ontario Police, the Sheriff's Department, CB07X36 paper, STP1990, 8HNX576, I believe, 8KIY700, 6SDP695, 8MYD937, license plate 57729C3. And I want to be clear, Metro 102 Apartments, they're engaged in criminal summoning. The entirety of that property, that's nothing other than a venue where the people of the state are in relevant position, monitoring while those demons in that vehicle, you can see the directed light beside the American Medical Response vehicle, while they are even in the shade, crossing path, that's a demon, and using what are sirens. Those are demons with access to an ambulance vehicle, that's all. Those are demons that are in positions that they are to be removed from, posing a threat literally to the public. 82583U1, stalking and molesting with directed light, terrorizing, stalking with the use of sirens, and doing so with the police and the Sheriff's Department, engaging in absolute lawlessness and entirely demented conduct, and doing so monitoring, facilitating the entirety of a people to engage in surveillance with them. 9F38147, they are doing so under what is that same exact specific environment, right? And you are listening to Southwest Airlines. They are group stalking, and they shall be prosecuted the exact same way. That company, Southwest Airlines, a sex offender, molesting, engaging in terrorism, engaged in criminal summoning while they are using a commercial airline plane to cross path, while the entity is molesting with directed light, keeping a fake sun over me, monitoring with the Sheriff's Department, who's group stalking while they're crossing paths over my head, with the entity that's group stalking by helicopter, with the entity that's group stalking by the Ontario Police Department. All right, that is Southwest Airlines engaging in all of the above. 7VXD773, license plate 6PEH173, 8DVU565, 8TSF609, 8YJZ752, 35. I can't really see that one. You can try someone. 78345K2, 7FJT760, and it is currently 9 a.m. 8EBK419, 6KWD824, 49815. Excuse me, 49815W2. JTT Logistics. That's the trucking company. US.2918976, license 9F38147. 7 DVG 954. Student Transportation of America. In case I did not read them, but they're patrolling, so it's another vehicle. 8 DIB 578. And Salcedo, California 354198. And the license plate, I cannot see, but that's Salcedo Trucking. It's 9:01 a.m. D FG 365, 6 ZEE 879. Student Transportation of America, their license plate is 6WG1215. Vehicle 85154 is on the back of that bus. 6SQH 799, 7MXX 372, 5KHU 192. Pomona Adult Day Healthcare, it's group stalking. Let's see, 5Y, I can't really see that license plate. 7GQM 598, 54514P2. These demons, as they're patrolling, directed light on the asphalt and directed light across the facilitating venue of 150 East Halt, where the fake sun is directly over my head while I'm at this venue right now. This is the same location where I'm at after 3:45 in the afternoon, 3:55 p.m. March 13th. That's what I just documented. While I am at the museum yesterday at 5:35 p.m. There is no migration of the sun, movement of the sun whatsoever while I'm at the museum, and the fake sun is still at this location. These are demons, as they're also demonstrating while they're stalking with audible activity and with directed light touching on my person. 7 LLU 041, this is a molestation by a demon-possessed entity engaging in criminal surveillance in violation of federal law while monitoring the documentation as criminal surveillance continues and as I'm documenting it. 03061G2, that's Unistar. And also engaging in what is doing so in concert with law enforcement. That's the demon-possessed San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department, the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department. Okay, monitoring. License plate, molesting. These old geezers molesting. 6SAV264. BN35E08, molesting. That's a paper plate. Latina female molesting just like the old geezers. 6GHA373. They're all repeating the same exact conduct, which is impossible to occur. They're all demons. This is the demon-possessed population. All right, license plate. 7SLV513. And Hobart, 6517373. Hobart Services, they're monitoring. License plate 6SGA625, Omnitrans Crossing Path. Bus 1269. License 8GQM 889. Rider is crossing path on Hope Boulevard. License 8SIN 463. SMJ 312 0835 3E3. That's tire. Yeah, I read that one already. Tires Warehouse, I believe. That's the name of it. 08353E3. Yeah, I read that one. They're all crossing path, directed light all over the asphalt. Right? These are cockroaches. And these minions who you see images of group stalking at the stoplight, they're monitoring. They're sex offenders alike. They're demons that are engaged in this criminal conduct together. They're around you while this impossible light is surrounding you. They're demons, and they're monitoring. Okay? And they're sex offenders. And you can see their images. They're captured, and they're right under the fake sun. Right here by me, I took a picture of them while the entity is molesting with directed light. They're part of the same sex offense, including the minions inside of 150 East Holt. They're inside of that building being documented right now. License 8NXZ540. License 710R22 Nevada, 6BYC025. Rider is license plate 2315024 Indiana. License 8LWL181. Omnitrans Route 61 going eastbound. License 1234516. License plate 7027881D. That looks like Wisconsin. License plate 8ZKN102. 5CUK268, 2HANS, 7HCA247. License thing 7KYU450, 7RMA469, 65716A1, BF4585, I believe. That's paper. I can't really see that one. That's a demon, by the way, that's both creating audible activity and trying to flee. Because they don't want me to document. They're not getting away with anything. They're not getting away with nothing. License plate. 7LZK189, 7LVX 756, BH 35776, license 60928B3. A600. 4WTX587. Seven, I can't really see that one. 8 BIE 561. 7, I can't see that one either. 8 NSL 597. City of Ontario is crossing path as well. Eight YEV 128. 08689C3. 8FZR 783. And these minions are all engaging in what is an ongoing sex offense, all right? They're engaged in a sex offense while I'm at the museum as well. 6XYW 685. 24544G3. License 6LJF006, 8C69925, 8WBX173, 07691F2, 41973 handicap, 3209-5H3, 7TZM692, 4KBF643. All right, now the iteration of that sex offense, I'm being molested at the museum with directed light. 8YJZ342 is molesting me, one after another. 6ZSD062 molesting, one after another while they drive by. Maintaining that ongoing touching with directed light while they are engaged in surveillance. Okay? That's how they're maintaining that ongoing sex offense. They are the perpetual sex offender. 1570077, that's Security Officer Patrol, OMSD. 8ZFG431, 04749G2, 7RQC924, 6MMP524, 51336G2, 8TRK438, 6YGM636, J277SO, 6P33, 6P, I can't really see that one, you press on. 8SZK870, 30075C3, 8BDV, 406, 6975, I can't really see that one. 6NMH282, 8VIM 657, 4162 7X1, 6S85030, 7MQE195, 7EQM871, 6PDV429. All of them sexually molesting. 8FLK776. All of them sexually molesting as they are group stalking. That is crossing path. Maintaining presence all around me on behalf of that government that likes to engage in stalking by helicopters and police. All right? License plate 6VAY153, I believe. I can't really see that one, but that's Student Transportation of America. ISHH is group stalking, crossing path again. All right? License plate. See, 7XIV559, 4, I can't really see that one. 4DQD347, I believe. 7DXC274, 3398, 7U2, 8GYJ593, 7KVG198, 39474L3, 6NHB496, COACH35, 7YXH521, CUZZINS, 6YYH336, 8SRT313, 5WBC529, 8NYL441, Unistar Foods, crossing path again, 6 UDB 449. San Bernardino County is engaged in an ongoing sex offense while these minions are crossing paths while I'm standing outside of this building. The fake sun is over my head, and they are molesting with directed light all over my person, and also directed light behind me onto the building of the San Bernardino County at 150 East Holt. That's the county engaging in a sex offense, okay? With each license plate, each actor, 6GBU 991, 8KTB 588, 7KVG 198, 8GYJ 593, 4DQD347 is the correct license. 8N68128, 8VHK123, 8N68. Yeah, I read that one already. 8UAS 494, 77619C1, 8TQG839, P787XO. And what you want to pay attention to is how the entity by the Ontario Police crossed paths as I speak about the fact that the Ontario Police have already demonstrated that they are group stalking with the people of the state at all times. Understand that they're, as I've already demonstrated, they're monitoring documentation, 9ASE430. That is, understand that's why Ontario Police are going to federal prison. 7JDK948, 7URB891, 7DCE109. Satan engages in, gets a kick out of what is stalking and being a stalker while being a police officer that is stalking somebody, bearing weapons. All of that demented conduct coming from what is one that's supposed to be a law enforcement officer, while you are engaging in what is criminal surveillance, and you are of a specific condition, which is also a matter of evidence you're demon possessed. That is federal prison. 6YVA 156 is Student Transportation of America. 8LEU 962, 7TZM 692, 5RYP 974, 6YSJ 839, 7GIC 477, 7VD, I can't really see that one, 8NLP 861, BV 85W65. Now directed light is in front of their cars as they're driving to turn from Hope Boulevard onto Euclid Avenue as I'm on the opposite corner. 56797U2. The directed light takes whatever side of the vehicle, whatever direction that I am on, that's where the directed light aims. And I've shown you that at the impossible angles of what is this directed light. That's not even sunlight. It literally is the witnessing Satan as you are looking at this light activity that coexists with their crossing of path conduct. All right. And it's literally alive, right? This light activity is speaking to what is alive, this light conduct based on where I am. Stalking with light literally is what the demon possessed are doing. 1527238. 8KJT7, 8XJT241. 6ANE183. And as I'm stating, those license plates are monitoring their group stalking with the Ontario Police Department as they are providing what is certified ongoing evidence against the people of the state, against San Bernardino County, engaging in a sex offense with the entity, including Southwest Airlines group stalking and commercial airline planes. You will be prosecuted in the same way while you are group stalking. You're engaging in a sex offense with the entity. You are engaging in terrorism under the fake sun. You are engaging in what is the impermissible threat while doing so and while monitoring while documentation is underway. It's currently 9:14 a.m. This is P.O.C. It's 9:14 a.m. 6VEU 789, 8KID 740, 88805B3, 7912. I can't really say that. You can scratch that one. 48069E3, 8TBF 633. Alrighty, you're looking at the minions who are also on surveillance cameras, molesting. 8YQY599, and that includes Omnitrans, who's engaged in that sex offense, license 1234598, Route 87, bus 1327. UPS 81725B3, directed light across the passenger side of that vehicle while they cross path, and Omnitrans is molesting while in the shade. All right, because it has nothing to do with driving under the fake sun. It has everything to do with what is a demon that is crossing your path. All right, and demons that are surrounding on the sidewalk. The dirt old Caucasian female, she's a demon, touching with directed light. The overweight male with the black t-shirt on, perhaps African-American, touching with directed light. And the minions that are getting on the bus. The old African-American male who is engaged in a sex offense, sitting at the bus stop, an operation of communication device documented him before he gets on the bus. He's engaged in a sex offense in doing so. Molestation with directed light via Omnitrans and by the minions that are crossing path on Euclid. He gets on the bus on surveillance cameras. That license plate bus number is documented at and it's 9:16 a.m. License 8PUR716, and the Asian female, all right, they're monitoring the entire time, by the way, while I am reading license plates in alignment. So I'm on the sidewalk while the entity is molesting. They are sex offenders molesting, and I've specifically documented that particular third party. The African American that got on Route 87, he's engaged in a molestation with Amtrak. He's engaged in a molestation with the people of the state who are patrolling on Euclid Avenue in the same way that they were now while I'm standing at the San Bernardino County building at 150 East Holt. He's doing so while he is stalking in the path at the bus stop. And then while the vehicles are crossing path, that ongoing molestation is occurring while they are driving in the shade, because it has nothing to do with driving under the fake sun. That is not sunlight reflection. That's not sunlight that's ricocheting off of your car onto the ground, reaching. Those are demons that are crossing path. That's why it also happens at nightfall, and it also happens while they're driving in shade. Okay, 8TJF472. And the fact that it's happening on an ongoing basis is speaking to the fact that they are all linked together in a system as one. On behalf of the state, 8CKA689, 5DUW587, 54486Y1, 7GLC 817, 8MMU064, 8PCH822, 7PLE348, 8PDG880, 6UOK397, 8ACG025, 8WED122. And it is 9:17 a.m. 4317252. That's the YMCA. License 7X68199. Engaging in surveillance. A sex offense is a Caucasian male. License 8P19767. He's been molesting with the entity that has, as I'm documenting them, at the Ontario Town Square. These minions are sitting in the Meridian on Euclid Avenue, monitoring with communication devices, wearing bright orange jackets like they're engaging in utility work. They're group stalking, and they're sex offenders. 60746C3, license 7CYS430, license 7UJC696, 8LTZ280, CC42S33. That's a paper plate. 5RRS258, 8TYJ203, 435MRF, Oregon. I don't know if 203 was the correct order of those characters. You can scratch that other one. 8RBM680, 8XAU100, 8PSN160, 8GQX121, 7ROR769, 6SFF868, 6LYV674, 8PSN, oh yeah, here we go, 7ZGM892, 8TJF472, Frontier Communications Group stalking at C Street and Euclid Avenue. 599C592, I believe. I can't really see that clearly. That's Frontier Communications on a large white utility truck. A Caucasian male is operating it. 8RND909. Alrighty, engaging in surveillance at Wells Fargo. This is a facilitating venue. Everything that I documented at Euclid and Holt, they are in relevant position monitoring, sitting in their cars, at work inside of the venue of Wells Fargo. They are monitoring. The entity follows with the fake sun over me while I'm at the venue. They were monitoring the entire time before I arrived at the venue. 8VYT438, 8YUG497, BF08Z01 paper, BM95F65 paper, 7NMZ309, 7WMV545, 6KWZ493, 4HVZ685, 6POE223, 6D70463, hold on, 60746C3, yeah, 6WKW793, 4XAD864, 8HAC388, 8AQM148. Alrighty, what you'll see is still images of this demon whose license plate I recited. He waits until I approach, again, as I'm walking, stalking with light. They use their vehicles to do so, and so they engage in what is waiting until I'm in the path directly in alignment with their vehicle, and then they're pulling out or pulling in or just sitting in their vehicle in reverse, or even with their hazard lights on, which they don't necessarily do while I'm still on the path. They do that while I'm anywhere in the vicinity. That's stalking. That's massive facilitation kind of. Stalking where you are engaging what is the creation of light in your path is what these demons are doing. That's what he's doing. And you can also see the directed light beside his vehicle. What you will also see, 5Z80952, 8WES037, what you will also see is the fake sun that's in the same exact position that I captured at 4:03 p.m. I'm at a different vantage point. That's exactly where the fake sun is yesterday at 4:06 p.m. after I exited the Ontario Ovitt Family Community Library. All right, and this is capturing what the entity is doing, just following with the light source, which is not the sun, and following by the demon-possessed, who I'm continuously identifying. All right, they are engaging what is surveillance, and this is accumulating what is nothing other than identification of that demon-possessed population who's engaged in this obsessive stalking, and they will be prosecuted as a perpetual sex offender in the ways in which I've shown you. The evidence reveals that. Touching with this, while they're engaging in this demonic activity with directed light, 4PQN 198, 8FED 335, 5CTK 446, license 8U24875, 7LHA 712, 8RDW 070, 9ANC 263. I already read that they're engaged in surveillance and they're touching with directed light, 8PDC 329, and I took an image of the minion that's sitting in the passenger seat, the old Asian female. She's a sex offender. She's monitoring with the minion who's pulling out, stalking with light in the BMW. She's walking by as a pedestrian, and then she hops in the passenger seat of this car that's parked at the Wells Fargo along Euclid Avenue, and they are touching with directed light in doing so, crossing path. 8UDE 010. Wells Fargo is engaging in a sex offense. Wells Fargo is located at 240 North Euclid Avenue. Garda-World, the security guard, they're monitoring. Standing in line, they're monitoring with the company Wells Fargo, and Wells Fargo is going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. While the entity uses the property of directed light swiping across the property, that's facilitation. Demons are inside and they're monitoring. While the entity is molesting with directed light, while I'm at this venue, they're engaged in monitoring. This is P.O.C. All right, it's 9:24 a.m., and that's relevant positioning inside of Wells Fargo, where criminal monitoring is underway. And the fake sun is right over me, as I showed you. I thought I took an image of that. And this is the maintenance of a light source that's not possibly the sun at 4:05 p.m. Wells Fargo is right in front of the Ovitt Family Community Light. That's not the sun. All right, 93733U2, 31157Z1, 7GCJ. I can't really see the rest of them. 7UIH 894. 36655F2, security paving. 5XXG567. And with regard to what is not the sun, this is a reference to what is capturing the demonic, the scientific impossibility that this is the natural environment. It's not the natural environment. 5XXG567 is crossing path with the entity that's group stalking by Alaska Airlines. And Alaska Airlines is engaging in a massive sex offense. The people of the state are these demons that are molesting with directed light. 8BPT007-0555L2, Bellas Exterminator, sex offender. License 75987M2. And again, not only right now, but I've documented much earlier than this, walking from Ontario to Upland. 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, before daylight savings time. Also, 60746C3, a sex offender molesting, with the Ontario police who are crossing path going southbound on Euclid Avenue right now, with whom 7YFK769, Wells Fargo, Dominions inside, engaging in business, which is a matter of documentation. Wells Fargo is going to be prosecuted, and everything with regard to what is relevant positioning, the way that you are identifying who was present and at what times, they're engaging in what is monitoring with the Ontario Police Department. And your work schedule is evidence of group stalking. Like I said, it's 9:26 a.m. and that's the entity that is engaging in a sex offense and engaging in what is criminal monitoring, group stalking by Alaska Airlines, group stalking by the people of the state who are engaging in sex offense, all matter of what is group stalking. All right. And you're talking about what is all matter of prosecuting that ongoing specific criminal act of federal group stalking and monitoring. All I'm doing is showing you how every single last method of crossing path is that which is in conjunction with an ongoing sexual touching while they're obsessively stalking in an unnatural environment. 7GBD 985, which is how and why you're stalking, because that's not possibly the sun. So like I said, not only have I been here much earlier in the morning, but you're talking about what is yesterday, 59328N2. The fake sun is in the same position, and by same position meaning it's over my head while I am facing the C Street turn circle, and after exiting the Ovitt Family Community Library, where the entity has already, as a matter of evidence, placed a fake sun at 7:34 in the morning. That is under no circumstances the sun. Even at 9:35 in the morning, it's over that venue. This is not the sun that is still present at 4:06 as I captured yesterday. But even so, I captured it at 6:41 p.m. And even when you're looking at those timestamps, it's all over the place. It's in the parking lot at 7:34 while I'm staying at the parking lot. On the opposite side of that same parking lot at 6:41 p.m. as I document, it's just on the opposite side of my person, aiming at it to the same exact venue. Impossible to be the sun. You have what is, let me get this license, 75376H3. You have what is the entity's fake sun that's over the front of the Ovid Family Community Library at 9:35 in the morning. You have what is the fake sun that's over me while I'm standing in between the Senior Center and the Ovid Family Community Library at 10 o'clock in the morning. You have what is the fake sun that's directly over as I'm inside of the venue, showing you what is the light source that's over the window at 10:19 in the morning, which, by the way, yesterday when I'm nowhere near that building, that's an impossible occurrence. And it's also that which is impossible while I'm in Chino, California, which, again, while I'm documenting that. This is speaking to what is also all over the place with regard to what's supposedly the sun. That's not the sun that's going to keep a central presence over your head in that hovering manner while you're all over every side of the building. And then you're also talking about what is duration. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the sun didn't go nowhere. That's not the sun. And all you also looking at, again, while I go at a different time and I'm looking at I'm at the same place from a different vantage point. So now I'm on the opposite side of the same C Street turn circle where I was yesterday at 4:06 p.m. That's where the fake sun is. It's not hovering directly in between the two buildings of the Senior Center and the Ovid Family Community Library. The entity's keeping the fake sun in front of me, and it's over the same position while I am standing at the same C Street turn circle on the opposite side. That's how you're capturing what is a fake sun. That's how you're capturing what is an impossible occurrence. That's what I captured at the museum, 5:35 a.m. And also 8:22 in the morning when I'm at that same venue, and I'm capturing the demon-possessed who are maintaining presence around me while the fake sun is over me, while the entity is maintaining ongoing noises, stalking by plane, helicopter, police, using the ongoing maintenance of audible activity, in other words. That's how you're capturing that. I'm at the same venue, different vantage point. Look at what is there. Not possibly the sun. That's impossible. That's how you're capturing that as well. All I'm doing is giving you every which way you're witnessing. And also, while these demons are stalking, YAJF 926. That's YAJF 926. That's a large truck crossing path. While you are looking at what is impossible. All right, I've already established that. That's not the sun that's going to be over the same venue as I've already established at the Ovid Family Community Library from, I've been here as early as 7 o'clock in the morning, and the entity would engage in as though the sun is setting into the depths of the Ovid Family Community Library, just like it was at the Fontana Lewis Library, just like it was at the Chino Branch Library, 8BHL030. Which are not in some sort of perfect line such that light is reaching across the region through buildings and streaming sunlight into the depths horizontally through the windows, through the doors, in order that that's occurring at all of those venues at the same time and remaining at each of those venues for the duration of the day. It's asininity. These are demons that are stalking with light, and the entity is stalking with a light source. They're demons 4NKC246, 7CKJ489, and the environment is as abnormal and unnatural as their very conduct and their condition. They're the demon-possessed. 8PSP297, 8WES037, and this is a massive sex offense that companies like Wells Fargo are going to be prosecuted for. 61973D1, molesting. License, that's UniFirst, they're molesting. 88CK 323, 7GVH 429, 5WCM 510, 4HCK 039, 5780952, 8YUG 497, 8PPD 395, 85132G2, 6SPN 055, 8BJR 879, 8W39687, 5WHJ813, 3M97456, 2SAVAG, 7KTV213. All right, and direct the light across all these demons you see outside standing in line. Direct the light all across the building and on my person while these demons are group stalking in the line at Wells Fargo. That's what I just took an image of. They're group stalking in the path. The entity is streaming direct light, and I've captured this on video before at this very same venue. Garter World was engaging in harassment, engaging in what is monitoring with the Ontario Police who crossed path in that video. Directed light is all over, all right? That's exactly what they're doing right now. 84545F3. And they are standing in line where the entity is aiming direct light. It's facilitation while these demons are in line, maintaining presence in the path. This isn't a line to engage in what is ordinary business. They're group stalking.
And that is also what supersedes the fact that you have directed light, which is an impossible occurrence, while you call yourself standing in line doing whatever. Well, while you're standing in line, it's affirmative evidence of your presence. You're a demon and you're group stalking. All right, and you're also a demon working at the venue. It's speaking to what is the condition of every single last one of them. 8 SIY 044. It's 9:32 a.m. License plate 8 YUG 497. Looks like Best Courier. They're crossing paths in a small little mini white van. They're monitoring. They're engaged in the same sex offense. Flashing direct light, moving across the shaded front entryway of the Wells Fargo, which is the maintenance of light. Okay. And you'll see the demons that are the Ontario Police Group stalking. Fake Sun is right here over me at the corner of the Wells Fargo. As you'll notice, it's no longer over the C Street area where I took a picture at, where the Fake Sun's in the same position where it was at 4:06 p.m. yesterday. That's because it's based on where I'm at. That's also speaking to the demon that is the Ontario Police, who are group stalking crossing path on Euclid Avenue. And they're monitoring. Let me be clear, Wells Fargo, every employee, the minions in line, providing what is documentation while they enter in, doing whatever it is with the bank account, creating a bank account, asking questions while they're inside of the venue. They're engaging in group stalking with the Ontario Police. It is currently 9:33 a.m. License 7MYS872 CDO5Z32 paper 54608J3 5FKF340 8ZQS163 11219Y2 MYTS 116 4MS8863 8SMB861 8U79076 6YPN 507 RONINSR 8THB201 6CKM 112 8FGC 202. Group stalking with the Ontario Police Department. Okay, engaging in sexual violence in concert and on behalf of the Ontario Police. 4VBX 810 and 58542J2. Group stalking with the Ontario Police. And Wells Fargo is in relevant position inside of the venue, group stalking with the Ontario Police Department. What's in relevant position as well is the Ontario Town Square. The entity is acting via the Ontario Improvement Association. That's just a minion that's group stalking with a leaf blower in their hand. They're group stalking with the Ontario Police. License 8NWL825 8JFW346 and Frontier Communications C 59925P2. That's vehicle. I don't see a vehicle number, but 4GZ1087 is on the back of this little contraption that they're carrying behind that vehicle as well. And Frontier Communications is crossing path again. It looks like the same Caucasian male in order to engage in a sexual touching with knowledge of the fact that I identified them earlier as well. That's what that demon is doing while they're, and that's exactly how you know that that is the case, because you're crossing path with directed light. That's an impossible occurrence. That's a demon that is stalking and going out of their way to engage in what is a sexual touching. And they're doing so with the Ontario Police. That's Frontier Communications. And doing so, again, Wells Fargo is fully engaged in all of that. I'm at this venue where the Fake Sun is directly over them. They're engaged in that criminal conduct. It's 9:35 a.m. 45376H3. License 7ZHS 491 7NMZ 616 7HMA 886 8VCW 423 8R, I can't really see that one, 81626Y2 8VCW 788 9AKTs, I can't see the rest of the one, 8P, you can scratch that one too, 6U8R 671 and 8UMS 374, you can see those. 5JUR 392 and Omnitrans license 1535707 bus 1362. Crossing path at 9:36 a.m. 6Z KZ 899 RSTGYPC 9AXK 649 7GMH 606 What you'll notice by the placement of this fake sun, it's nowhere near Upland, California, nowhere near the 7-Eleven at 204 North Euclid Avenue where I am, getting off of the bus at Route 83 that just crossed paths with me. 7YAK513 crossing path again, 57641H1, 8Z61192, license plate, 8PPW816, while it was remaining stationary directly over Wells Fargo because Wells Fargo they're puppets of Satan who are monitoring. 8KST181, engaging in state surveillance under a company name in relevant position. Okay, let me tell you the name of this minion that's Wells Fargo. The state of California, group stalking via Wells Fargo. License, I know, I can't see that one, but you're paying attention as I'm reading the license plate of Route 83 that's crossing path. There's no sun that's remaining in the window of that Route 83 bus. It's been remaining over me, and crosses path remains stationary over the Wells Fargo where I'm standing, 87508L1, where I'm standing, as opposed to already being over me in Upland, 3THZ668, when I'm getting off in Upland, California. All right. That's also, again, speaking to what is the very direct evidence of the condition of every single last one, the company names that are included in that criminal prosecution, the absolute incredible manners of what is the directed-like conduct amongst the people. You're talking about what is an impossible occurrence for it to happen one time, for it to happen hundreds of times over and over again. It's a perpetual sex offense, and that's the existence of the system. 8PSM 914 00889L2 7FKF554890YH handicap 7DXS668 7RWP782 6VFR477 6GYB857 license 5353. I can't really see that one. You can scratch that one. 8PMJ02978XR 654 4LDF921 8DJT600 7SWU 622 1493742. That is City of Ontario molesting. And it's 9:39 a.m. (93676F3). This little freak weirdo. He's a freak weirdo, what you hear me saying. He's engaging what is stalking with this minion 4LDF921, who's molesting and then maintaining stationary presence with the turn signal on. That's stalking with light activity. And he's pacing back and forth from the ATM. Do you want to go to the ATM or do you not want to go to the ATM? 3UBD556. What he's doing is pacing while the entity is molesting while they're driving by. 78844P1, 8GQG397, 5YGU. I can't really see the rest of them. You can scratch that. License 7VEU831. Okay, so big picture at 4:06 p.m. where the fake sun is over me at the Ovid Family Community Library, which is again 8YDL5525BGD248, which is behind, meaning behind where I'm standing at the intersection of Euclid and C Street right now. To go behind is for me to walk east to be at the entryway of the Ovid Family Community Library, steps behind here. The fake sun is going to remain at the same exact location at 4:06 p.m. In other words, the entity is suggesting that the sun is going to remain at this same location for it to be directly over the Wells Fargo building right now. That is speaking to what is not the sun, for me to capture it at 4:06 p.m. east of this location at the C Street turn circle, and I also captured it this morning in an image at that same C Street turn circle facing another vantage point. That's an impossible occurrence. I'm capturing it in the same position in the morning that it was yesterday in the evening, in addition to the fact that it's present in the morning. So the sun is going to move eastward to be over that same location at 4:06 p.m. That's what the entity is doing with the light switch. That's why it's called a fake sun. And that's a matter of objective evidence. License 7SNZ853, 8AQS711, 5XOS432, 11199W2, 02902X2, 7RVW704, I believe, yeah. 7GMH606, while minions such as the 7JCP, the Asian female who's group stalking, engaging in criminal summoning, as I documented her this morning, goes to the Upland Public Library. There's no sun remaining outside over that Veterans Monument and then remaining over the Upland Public Library all day long, which is not the sun. That's not the sun that would do that anyway. 75814X2. It's speaking to what her criminal conduct is while she's group stalking at Euclid and Holt, and also while she's inside of the Upland Public Library, where the entity is engaging in what is mutually exclusive, because the sun is not over the roof of the Upland Public Library at 4:05 p.m. and nor is it at the same time
directly over my head at what is 4:05 p.m. in Ontario at the Stater Brothers at 646 West Holt. That same Stater Brothers where I'm capturing the fake sent over me at 11:09 a.m. where the Ontario Fire Department are group stalking while my panties are down, monitoring me in that private space while I'm being molested with directed light. This is the same venue, the same timestamp I used yesterday. And right now, you're talking about during the 9 o'clock hour, it's right here advanced beyond the location where it's at 4:06 p.m. yesterday. By advanced, I mean it is more westward than it was yesterday at 4:06 p.m. on the specific street of C Street after I exited the Ovid Family Community Library. This is where these demons are molesting with directed light. 5FVD431. 7NXE863, 7MPV203. This is where these demons of the Ontario Police Department are crossing path amongst an ongoing sex offense. That's where they're doing that. 7NMZ309. That is the direct evidence of your condition, okay? You are entirely a psychopath stalking as an entity. You are a psychopath while you are of this condition. That's what the demon possession condition is, by the way. And they're demonstrating. It's not just I'm not just opining that. Their pattern of conduct is that of the psychopath. And then the psychopath is fully exposed. You're not even under a natural environment. Okay, that's 6SUE954. That's not any sort of secret at all. That's, glaring evidence of what is an entirely unnatural environment. And this is unnatural behavior. Is this ONTFIRE? Yeah, that's the demon that's not under any sun that's over the upland 7-Eleven at 204 North Euclid Avenue at 9:43 a.m. They're crossing path with direct light in Ontario at Wells Fargo, 8N78113. All right, so this is what you're paying attention to, and I captured that in still images. I've already captured the fake sent over this venue day in and day out going on Route 83 to Upland. 7K34619, but not today. It's remaining stationary. And while it's remaining stationary, it is more westward than it is at 4:06 p.m. 7BST756. License 5YNK883, 7BSX056, 6KJP363, 8XTG721, 8MSH331. That is 1393523, 8AFU987. And this is the perpetual sex offender molesting in that unnatural environment, which is, again, the unnatural conduct, the unnatural behavior, which is serving a criminal system of those in that unnatural environment. All right, it's not even the sun. It's not even, this molestation is occurring under what is not the sun. And it's also occurring under what is, while they are driving under shade. It has nothing to do with the placement of the fake sun. They're demons that are stalking with light in the same way that the entirety of the environment is revealing what is stalking me with a light source. Okay, 8YVU995. Let's see. It's 9:45 a.m. This one is pacing. I read this minion's license plate already. Alrighty, capturing video of the light source directly over me at the Wells Fargo. License 8WLH049, immediately crossing path. You can see what is directed light that is on the building of Wells Fargo. My shadow is upright and large in size. This is where these demons are molesting. 7DID495, 8WBX173. They're molesting. They're molesting while I'm showing you the enlarged size of my shadow on the wall. That's a sex offense by the demon possessed, placing you under surveillance. 5YNK883 is pacing in that video. 5FVD431 is pacing in that video. 4LDF921. 8YVU995, 8DAA039, 8HDM164, 8WLH049, 7WMV545, 7YFK769. No, let me get this menu real quick. Alrighty, it is currently 9:52 a.m., 7DID495, and the African-American 8HDM164. He is pacing as well, molesting with directed light. This is, again, I'm showing you what is the impunity that the demon-possessed engage in while they're stalking on behalf of the government. That you're going to federal prison for that. And while you're subject to, for example, at a business establishment where I'm at, Wells Fargo, you don't have a right to be at work while you're engaging in a sex offense, while you're group stalking with the police, while you're present on behalf of the government that's threatening your life, stalking you by helicopters, because that's exactly what you're doing while I'm being molested. Inexplicable light activity, my enlarged shadow upright on the wall of the Wells Fargo. You have what is directed light, inexplicable light that's appearing on the side of the wall. The fake sun is over my head in a position that it is remaining at 4:06 p.m. That's the environment. This is the same venue where the entity has been documented on multiple occasions stalking by helicopter as well. This is terrorism that Wells Fargo is fully documented as engaging in. This is called impunity. It is around the federal prison. 8WPV344. License 8TQG839. And the demon possessed are very, very obsessed. Very obsessed. Very, very obsessed. Who can't be doing what? You can't do what you're doing. Why don't you stay over there? That's what's wrong with you now. Stay over there. 7YFK769, and that's harassment by an entity, the one who you see monitoring. Let me remind you of her license plate. Let me remind you of her license plate while they're sitting around in engineer light monitoring. 5FVD431 is harassing and stalking with light. That even steps on her brake lights as I go back to look at her license plate. You can't be doing that. First of all, you're not supposed to be monitoring. And second of all, yes, I can. Yes, I can, and yes, I will. And that's exactly how you're going to prosecute the entity. You're going to put it on the internet, what the government is doing. You're going to, in other words, widely publicize what you are subject to, and that's how you're going to initiate that prosecution of the government itself, the people of the state. That is a whole psychopath, a demon that is stalking. Okay, they're stalking together while they're engaging what is molesting with directed light, and you document them. That is the psychopath that is engaging in what is trying to tell you what you can do while you're monitoring. You are in violation of existing federal law. That is what is so profound about the demon possessed. All right, 8PSM914, 8JFW346. They do the same thing while they're stalking you in the bathroom. All right, 87RWP782. And there is no way that any pissant minion who's engaging in stalking is going to tell you. In other words, the government is not going to tell you that you're not going to be able to enforce your rights. And that's, let me be clear, what you're listening to is the state that is speaking, the state that's stalking by helicopter telling you that you cannot document its criminal activity, which is a threat to your life. Monitoring, engaging in surveillance, 60GP077, engaging in that ongoing molestation, engaging in what is harassment by an entity, 7RYN739. Like in that third party who you see engaging what is audible activity creation is the minion that you see on video under the fake sun. 5XFW914 following into the parking garage. 5FVD431 is the third party. License plate. It is license plate 8GLR050. Let me get this one. And this is her following me into the parking garage now. You're following me into the parking garage? You're following me into the parking garage? You're following me into the parking garage? Is that what you're doing? You're following me into the parking garage? You need to go find somewhere else. I don't think so. You're stalking this bee. How about that? There's directed light behind. Directed light is behind the vehicle, and she's stalking with activity creation. So listen to this. That's criminal summoning. She's going to federal prison. She's already going to federal prison for a monitoring, but this is siren. She falls into the parking garage. 5FVD431. That's P.O.C. She's following me into the parking garage. That's American Medical Response. She's going to federal prison. She enters into what is, again, impossible light activity. So she's pursuing me, literally stalking in the environment, but you're talking about what is literally following me into another place. Let me be clear, everything she's saying, she's intentionally creating audible activity and doing so while directed light is appearing inside of the parking garage, while the entity then begins sounding sirens. She's going to federal prison, okay? That's harassment by an entity, that's terrorism, that's the obsessive extent that they go to keep you under surveillance as well. She's going to federal prison. 8GLR050. Wells Fargo is engaging in criminal summoning as well. They're monitoring together. Every license plate that I read, 5XFW914 is inside of the parking garage as well. This is where they're maintaining presence inside, sitting in their vehicles. And I'm going to show you what's directed light inside of this parking garage. It's impossible light activity. All right, so you're going to want to pay attention to that. You have this minion that is paying very close attention to me, which is exactly what I showed you in the video. All right, she's obsessively monitoring. She is obsessively monitoring while I'm capturing the video of the fake sun directly over me. And she is, while I am in the parking lot capturing the license plates of third parties who are molesting, she's addressing me while I'm not addressing her. So you're talking about what is focusing on me by that conduct, okay? I'm going to document, and what I'm speaking to is their focus on me is born of what is, excuse me, minion, license plate 7ACZ723. The entity is engaging in what is keeping the light source directly over me, while the minion and it's not just the light source, it's also the directed light. All right, you see the upright sides of the shadow. This is a demon who is going to the extent of then following me into the parking garage. All right, and guess who's monitoring with her? Frontier Communications, 10902T2, engaged in criminal summoning. All right, 5AFZ786, engaged in criminal summoning. 7LUR942, engaged in criminal summoning. 7YAK513, who crossed paths twice already, is engaged in surveillance at the Ovid Family Community Library, engaged in criminal summoning. And they're all monitoring with the Ontario Police Department. Alrighty, they are surrounding the venue where the entity is following me into the parking garage, 5ZHT546. That's what that is. That's the entity following me into the parking garage, who you see she's obsessively monitoring. She's on her communication device. She's engaged in the P.O.C. while I'm showing you the direct light on the wall of the Wells Fargo. And then she is, that is speaking to the environment that they're in. That is how you know they're focused on you. She is then, again, by her behavior of addressing me while I'm documenting your criminal conduct, which you're going to be documented, period. You have the entity then pursuing me, following me from place to place. And she's doing so because she's maintaining elements inside of that parking garage. Understand that. 78RW431, that's why the entity immediately starts sounding sirens. License plate 5AFZ786. That is harassment as her method of the elements of monitoring. All right. And you're not going to be distracted by that. That's why when she's talking about, I don't even know what she's talking about. I'm asking her a question. Wait, so you're going to follow me into the parking garage now? That's what you're doing? You're literally stalking like I'm documenting. She went out of her way, moved her car to follow me into the parking garage area where directed light is on the ground. That's what I took pictures of. Impossible light activity, flat on the ground. The shape of the windows are flat on the ground on the inside of the parking garage. That's impossible light activity. Where directed light. But also while she is raising her voice, she's creating audible activity, and then the entity sounds sirens. That's American Medical Response. Directed flashing of light appears on the wall behind her, okay? This is a demon that's stalking to engage in what is the ongoing elements of monitoring. And that's how super thirsty and desperate that they are while they engage in that criminal conduct. That sort of level of threatening conduct, that sort of extent to which you are obsessively stalking, and then they are genuinely hostile to documentation. But let me be clear, you're using what is a method of harassment to continuously monitor. That stalker went in there because I have to be surrounded with the elements of monitoring at all times. So you're talking about what is entering in and then just trying to initiate an argument, which is not going to be a distraction. I'm pointing at directed light, criminal summoning, relevant positioning. She's group stalking while she is engaging in what is harassment. DJR3X87, molesting with directed light in the middle of the parking lot of the Ovid Family Community Library. All right, and that's a demon that drove over here to engage in that touching. Okay, engaged in what is the pattern of conduct with the entity Wells Fargo, the entirety of that entity, like I said, Ontario Town Square, the 280 North Lemon Apartments. 7AQE900, engaged in criminal summoning and harassment by an entity. They're engaged in surveillance in the parking lot. They're monitoring together. And that entity is, again, that's the state speaking. And these are minions that are placing you under surveillance together. They're all engaging in what is harassment together. Period. All of them, they're all under the same exact impossible environment and surrounding where they are monitoring you while the demons then sound sirens to keep you surrounded with that environment. That's harassment of that entity. They are engaging in surveillance, and I'm at the venue around the parking garage where the entity surrounds with directed light inside of that parking garage. That was P.O.C. Okay? And she went to the extent to follow me into the parking garage. All right? License 8MJX494. So that's what you're paying attention to. While they want to talk about, you can't, but look at what they're doing. You're following. Why are you following me? Why are you going to that extent? If you're talking about what it is that I'm talking, then why don't you go somewhere? Why are you following me? Literally. That's what they're doing already. This is group stalking. They're following. They're following from place to place as an entity. You are literally getting in your vehicle and driving off to follow where it is that I'm walking right now because you want to continue a conversation. No, they're monitoring. All right. That's an obsessive group stalking tactic. Okay, 8ROY394. The Ovid Family Community Library, understand they are engaged in criminal summoning. That's harassment by an entity. The Ovid Family Community Library's tactics, very, very well documented. 8ROY394, 8FXY391, 6ELM748, 8RTK623, 8SRV642, 8CEE012, 6VNM188, 8SOR387. It is also probative when you are, again, as you would analyze any threat, as you would diagnose any other disturbed individual, and that you've got probable cause for being a disturbed individual based on your conduct, what you do. So you're talking about the group stalking, the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. The mental state is a direct relevant issue, okay? And it is ripe for diving into with regard to that prosecution. And the disturbed individuals that are acting as an entity. This is a population engaging in this criminal system in the U.S. All right. And so you're talking about it's not the fact that you're some normal person and you're engaging in group stalking. No, you're not. Group stalking in and of itself is literally prima facie for what is the psychopath. Okay. And I'm using legal terms because you are very sick when you're engaging in group stalking. All right, 7RJZ855, 7EMF066, and then group stalking is that which is supposed to occur as a matter of what is a public corruption. So in other words, it's happening in plain sight. It's happening on the under the guise of what's supposed to be just normal everyday life. All right, that's what group stalking is supposed to appear as. You're looking at what is the environment that they're surrounding in, and this is all matter of terrorism while you're being molested with directed light, ongoing sex offense. In other words, the sex offender is then attacking you and engaging in what is more aggressive stalking conduct while you are documenting that stalking and sexual violence. What sort of sicko is, and that's the P.O.C, that's literally what they're engaging in, and that's what I captured on video. That's not the sun that's going to be over the same entrance at 4:06 p.m. No, it's not. And you are talking about what is a psychopath. That is demonstrated through your conduct. 8WAZ771. And that's exactly what's used against the entity. That's not an individual speaking, that's the state stalking. That's the state speaking. That is the state that is stalking by helicopters, speaking, having no legitimacy whatsoever. And then you're understanding, that's what I'm pointing out in the video, impunity. Okay, when I say federal prison, that's exactly what I mean. That is necessary as a matter of justice. You're talking about what is literally a ticking time bomb. You have psychopaths that are engaging in lawlessness on the loose, doing so with what are criminals who have yet to be identified as that, sending the wrong message in the U.S. with regard to how you treat and how you bind. Okay, by bind, I mean limit, restrict the law enforcement agencies in the U.S. You're sending a wrong message, and guess why? This is why. Okay, because this is what is underway. All right, these are literally the minions of Satan engaging in what is a very specific agenda, and the legislation, the case law that surrounds the way in which, for example, police officers are treated. You're sending a very, very, very negative message, and I'm showing you the criminal conduct and the impunity with which for example, the demons that are engaging in criminal activity with the people of the state, who are of the same condition. There are demons engaging in what is unbeknownst to you. Surveillance in the United States. And this surveillance is underway through what is entirely demented conduct. It is satanic. And these officers are engaging in that. All right. They're holding hands with the demons who you hear, with the demon possessed who are on crack. All right. They're drug addicts, tattoos on their face, lowlifes. And you think it's different because those demons are wearing police uniforms. And I'm telling you that they're not. They're of the same condition, nothing honorable about them. They are literally a threat while they are in those positions as law enforcement. This is Satan that's bearing weapons. This is Satan that's wearing police badges. This is Satan that is engaging in obsessive stalking of somebody. And you're talking about what is federal group stalking and monitoring, that which is occurring today under what is supposed to be a matter of public corruption. So that is, it is a covert system of surveillance. You're talking about what is nothing other than a ticking time bomb where you are aware of what is the system that I'm revealing to you now before Satan is ready to make that known. And you're talking about what is a threat while those that are in positions of law enforcement, those that are the people of the state engaging in this lawlessness, engaging in what is that ongoing threatening conduct, entirely demented. You're stalking, you're a sex offender engaging in sexual violence in an entirely demented manner. Okay, you're touching with what is this engineered light while you're monitoring, and that's going to be prosecuted as a sex offender. You're a demon that's touching, albeit in some highly demented and unnatural and like inexplicable method. But it is nonetheless a touching, and it's absolutely demented, all right? And it is sexually motivated. They intend to touch the person. They intend to terrorize and surround at all times. And then it's for that criminal system of monitoring with the entity that is heavily documented, stalking and following around and terrorizing in helicopters and airplanes. With law enforcement, these demons that are of the police departments and the sheriff's departments, who have engaged in ongoing efforts of kidnapping, trying to silence me from documenting and exposing this very system. Those minions are speaking on behalf of the entity, following me into the parking garage. You're a whole psychopath engaging in that level because you are seeking to literally continue surveillance. Understand that harassment was serving to keep me monitored. It was elements of monitoring audible activity while flashing a directed light. That's impossible light. This is a demon that's following me into the parking garage, who is then yelling and talking about what she does not care about. This demon is being documented on video. Let me be clear. They are engaging in what is obsessive stalking while I document them. So you're talking about what is seeking to pick an argument while you are following me to maintain the elements of monitoring, and in doing so in concert with the minions who are stalking by sirens. Okay, American Medical Response. All right, engaging in surveillance in the parking lot, 8WHR364. Engaging in what is harassment, she's engaged in criminal summoning, monitoring with the demons who are following into the parking garage with flashing directed light, following into the parking garage with harassing speech, threats to engage, that's an implied threat of physical harm while you are representing the government that's placing me under surveillance, stalking by the demon-possessed police departments and the sheriff's departments, and with helicopters flying over my head by commercial airline planes everywhere. And then you're talking about what is engaging in surveillance, monitoring to that activity creation. You're a part of that same P.O.C. You're surrounding the venue in relevant position while that demon engaged in that criminal act. They're all engaging in that together. She's sitting in the parking lot engaging in surveillance under the fake sun, where the entity is flying over this parking lot, okay, the same parking lot where I'm capturing video at 7:34 a.m., all right, as I documented in February 2022, 8RV953, 8LAG078, 5TQS003, 7HPF865. What you see is 7RJZ855 engaging in surveillance in the parking lot. She pulls out of the parking spot as I document the other third party who's engaging in surveillance, and she's driving around to engage in crossing path. And what you hear in the background is the entity that's flying over by airplanes. She does the same thing. She does, she pulls out of the parking spot where I would walk up upon her and document that she's engaging in surveillance. She's engaging in surveillance while you're crossing path. The entity is engaging in surveillance via the people of the state. They're all engaging in maintenance of presence on behalf of the state. That's what they're doing at work at Wells Fargo. That's what they're doing entering into and exiting out of Wells Fargo as the entities is engaging in group stalking. It's surveillance while you're literally manning the path, sitting in your vehicle in the parking lot, while the entity is maintaining elements around me. You're monitoring. You are engaging in group stalking as I documented with the Ontario Police. You're engaging in the pattern of conduct with the entity engaging in what is following me into the parking garage with directed light. This act of terrorism, this ongoing implied threats of physical harm while you are hostile to being documented, engaging in the P.O.C. on behalf of the state. You're engaging in surveillance in that parking lot in that same environment that's following me into that parking garage and as I continue walking about. So she pulls out of the parking spot while the entity is flying over by aircraft, which you can hear. She's been engaged in surveillance the same. So I just want to point that out. Driving out of the parking spot is not ceasing from engaging in criminal surveillance. All right, you're talking about what is maintaining stationary presence in that in the parking spot in this parking lot where I'm walking through reading license plates. And then as I document another one, take their picture, okay, while they're engaging in surveillance in the parking lot, she pulls out of that parking spot to engage in what is crossing path, okay? She could have pulled out and took the immediate turn outside of the parking lot. She didn't. She pulls out, she drives around, which is crossing a path, and she drives back down the next aisle in order to drive right in front of me, which is crossing a path, while the entity is flying over by aircraft. All right, she's monitoring in that regard. Understand that. She could have driven right out of the parking lot by pulling out of the parking spot and making an immediate left. She didn't. 8ZGD103, 5UEB092, 6ETP013, 7RXV901, 7XDX665, 8MKN815. And this is what I pointed out before, what is so absurd. This is the population that's placing American citizens under surveillance, monitoring with communication devices, 16864M2, 8PAE358, 20585PZ, engaging in what is harassment, engaging in what is criminal summoning, engaging in what is the pattern of conduct of federal stalking by an entity there in relevant position at this venue. Again, I've pointed this out before. The entity you're talking about, this is Satan. These are the demon possessed. Engaging what is monitoring with communication devices cannot handle being documented with a communication device. The very one you're monitoring, you're group stalking, and you can't handle it when you are being prosecuted with the very instruments that you're using to place another under surveillance. That is just like Satan as well. All right, Satan is a coward. All right, Satan is engaging in what is the conduct of one that is, you're very fearful because I'm revealing it, I'm exposing it, and I'm prosecuting it. But you're talking about this is what you're doing, you're monitoring, and then you're being documented, and I'm using the very devices that you're using to place me under surveillance. 0325577, that's the United States Postal Service, crossing path group stalking, engaging in criminal summoning. 8HYR086, okay, so I did not read that license plate already. It is 10:13 a.m. And I already read this license plate, but I just want to read. They're engaged in criminal summoning like they were before. American Medical Response while I was in the parking garage. Engaged in criminal summoning again. Stalking in the path with light. 7NRW431. Just keeping their foot on the brakes. That's a method of stalking in the path with light. Monitoring with the United States Postal Service. Okay, that crosses path while after the entity was sounding sirens. They're keeping me surrounded with an keeping me surrounded with the elements of monitoring, the audible activity. All right, the noises, the creation of the sound of sirens is a method of maintaining audible activity. Okay, 8BXY907, HIS TDF, and the 280 North Limit Apartments is referred to as the Ontario Senior Housing Partner engaged in criminal summoning, harassment by an entity engaged in P.O.C. All right, that's an effort of what is harassment and intimidation by an entity. That's the conduct, the personality, by the way, of Satan. You're dealing with the demon-possessed population, raging psychopaths. All right, and as I was stating, the mind state of the people of the state engaging in this criminal system, the entities, the entity that's acting directly and vicariously. You're talking about what is the very disturbed mind state of a demon-possessed person flying in circles, pacing over with a helicopter. That's a very disturbed person, all right? And that disturbance, I'm speaking to what is, again, it's occurring in a specific environment. This is demon possession. This is demon possession that you are ignorant to. What is it that I have done? I have woken up the beast. It's not concealed at all because I'm documenting it. That's a threat. And so this is the reality of what they are doing everywhere. Once you pose a threat, in other words, once you're aware of it, okay, once you begin to, in some way, sort of try to assert your rights, you're talking about what is the reality of what has been going on for a long time, making itself even more abundantly clear. This, like I said, once I started documenting, the entity starts engaging in what is very obvious stalking by police everywhere. I went from city to city to city, okay, in my car, while the entity engages in what is the stalking conduct with helicopters and airplanes. This is what the entity had been doing. Once I become aware of it and I start taking notes and paying attention, the entity becomes more and more aggressive. And here I am capturing video every single day and night of an entity stalking by helicopter. This is not new. This is what the entity was doing the entire time. This is a threat that you are faced with that you are unaware of. You become a threat once you become aware of it and start documenting it. Okay? This is what the entity has been doing. This is not new. All right? 8WIG823 93676F3. See. EVIL. I read their license plate, but I want to be clear. They're present, engaging in criminal summoning with the entity. They are, I read them, they're crossing paths. 7BQF182. These minions are present, engaging in criminal summoning. The 280 North Limit Apartments, Metro 102 Apartments, the Ontario Town Square Townhomes, the Ontario Town Square. That means the security guard, the minions that are on surveillance cameras at the venue, the Wells Fargo Bank, all of the above. They're all engaged. The use of sirens, the properties on Euclid Avenue, the properties on C Street, so the surrounding venues on D Street, that the use of sirens is massive facilitation. They're all engaging in that criminal summoning together. 8RJX889, 8HYA007, 7YDH726, 7LZD649, 8PDC329, 8VLK593, 6ZWS056. Every employee inside of the Open Family Community Library, 90120A1, 8EDJ905, 7RWP782, and the Rialto Police Department are group stalking at B Street. Rialto Police Department group stalking at B Street and this is Lemon, B Street and Lemon. I did take an image of that. That's not the Ontario Police. That's a Rialto Police Department vehicle. It is not 10:17 a.m. where you'll see that image. 8EOJ905, 8VZD379. Monitoring with the Rialto Police Department. That's a threat to your life. It's not just the Ontario Police. Stalking by the Ontario Police. This is what the police departments are engaging in. They're demons. All right, and the Rialto Police Department also engaged in kidnapping with the same Ontario Police Department. That fictitious prosecution, the Rialto Police Department engaging in kidnapping at the Rancho Cucamonga Superior Court, where I've also documented the fake son over that venue, by the way, and documented what is the conclusive evidence of what is not possibly the son over that venue as I documented that. So that's conclusive. But the entity is group stalking with the Rialto Police Department, who also engaged in kidnapping. And you're monitoring with the police. That is the grounds of federal prison. License plate. 8VLK593 is crossing path, but let me be clear, they're monitoring as an entity. These old dirtbags that live at 280 North Limit Apartments, where the entity engages in what is an ongoing maintenance of hovering over their apartments with commercial airline planes and by helicopters, which these old dirtbags don't mind because they're demon-possessed minions who are group stalking in concert with the state, because they're monitoring together. They're also monitoring with the Rialto Police Department. 8JVL217, 8YHE754. 5KLH177. And these minions are pacing up and down what is B Street, which is Metro 102 Apartments. Venues over there. And I just want to speak to the license plates over here who are engaging in criminal summoning with American Medical Response. This is harassment, intimidation by an entity, as you are listening to that on my podcast, while that demon literally followed me into the parking garage to maintain the elements of monitoring amongst what is directed light and the act of criminal summoning. And showing hostility is what Satan is doing, while also seeking to do nothing other than maintain the elements of monitoring. So like I was stating, you have the entity that is engaging in what is a pattern of conduct that has been underway. And this, you're talking about what is a threat, so you're talking about what is a time bomb. Alrighty, showing you what is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. at 280 North Lemon Apartments. And 7 NWS 976 is engaging in criminal summoning, engaging in that sex offense with the minions that are patrolling on foot and in vehicle, including the Ontario Police Department, who you see on video demonstrating their demon possession, while that directed light is on the apartment wall in the shade. All right, and while the fake sun is directly over my head. I captured that video at 10:19 a.m. The entity is engaging what is that pattern. You immediately start hearing sirens. Okay, based on what I'm documenting, based on the maintenance of my stationary presence, the entity is group stalking by Southwest Airlines, license 8YCX969, molesting with a minor child, CC62C49 paper plate. And as I captured, Southwest Airlines is engaging in criminal summoning. All right, and Southwest Airlines is engaging in a sex offense while I'm documenting. That's a molestation. They are monitoring, they're facilitating monitoring, and they're doing so with the Ontario Police Department. 8YHE754, 8JVL217, 7FML622. All right, and this psychopath that you see on video, she's monitoring, and she's monitoring with a CRXT 709. She's monitoring with a minor in the vehicle with her, engaging in demonic conduct, engaging in what is terrorism, engaging in what is the demonic sex offense, that is stalking and molesting with directed light, while the Ontario Police Department are present monitoring with her as well, okay? And doing so while the entity is sounding sirens. She is surrounded by many hallmarks together, while she is then holding the hand of a child walking in directed light, creating light activity in that directed light, group stalking, in other words, okay? 7YNY765. And these are, again, the psychopaths that are waging that threat, as I stated, and placing you under surveillance the entire time unbeknownst to you. And the entity engages in what is an increase in aggression as you pose a threat. In other words, as you become aware of it and start documenting it, the entity is doing what it was always doing, stalking you by helicopters and airplanes, stalking you with an entire environment which is abnormal, which you are not even paying attention to. The entity did not just now start stalking by helicopter day and night. The entity was doing this all the time while I was unaware of it, not paying attention to it, driving around, sitting in class, sitting in whatever apartment I'm living in, on public transportation such as the train, going to work, sitting in law offices. I'm not aware of what's going on. I'm not really paying attention to the environment that's surrounding me while the entity kept me under surveillance. Demons surrounding me in the law office, on the Metrolink, okay, on the freeways, the same exact P.O.C. The entity is revealing the reality of that system as I'm documenting it, because I'm posing a threat, exposing it, which is the personality of Satan. This is a threat, by the way, that I'm speaking to, that you are all subject to, because as the entity is subject to it, the personality of Satan is to engage in what is threatening your life. Okay, engaging in that conduct while you are exposing what they are engaging in, hostile to that, very, very hostile. Okay, and these are psychopaths that are bearing children, holding hands of children, engaging in that conduct. License 8XAG200 7PUR126, molesting, and it is 10:29 a.m. Again, license 8XAG200. This is the minions that are molesting. You see the directed light, and they maintain that ongoing conduct of the psychopath. Huh? What? That's the P.O.C. It is currently 10:30 a.m., and that is the maniacal conduct of an entity that is engaging in surveillance. And this is also, all right, this is also the absence of the light source that would be over the Ovid Family Community Library, by the way. While you're looking at that light activity, which is speaking to impossible light activity, that's there. It's impossible light. It's the demonic conduct by the entity, and while the Ontario Police again are demonstrating their very demented state while they are in those positions, that they are disqualified by virtue of that condition, and their criminal conduct that they are engaging in based on that condition, and also based on their objective criminal conduct of the ongoing acts of obstruction of justice, as I've documented it. The entity is engaging in that criminal conduct together in the specific environment. And so while you see that directed light, while it is no explanation for what is the light activity that's appearing on the wall and on the grass and onto the sidewalk, the entity is engaging what is 7VOX181, revealing what is, again, not the sun that would be over the Ovid Family Community Library over the elevator. Okay. Now what happens while I walk into, then the entity moves that fake sun right over that building, and that's where it's located. But as I'm nowhere near this location yesterday, didn't arrive until after around 1 o'clock, the sun is not over the Ovid Family Community Library. You also know that the sun is not over the Ovid Family Community Library as I go to Fontana, and the entity was keeping the fake sun over me en route to and as I remained in Fontana. That is already established. But like I said, while you look at that fake sun over me, while you see that directed light on the wall, while you see my enlarged size, this is engineered light I'm being molested by, that is speaking to, again, what the Ovid Family Community Library is engaging in concert with the rest of these meetings, the Ontario Town Square, Southwest Airlines. Okay, that's nothing other than a demon that's using a commercial airline plane to engage in crossing path. That's demonic. While I'm being molested, that's a sex offense by that company. Okay, and they're coming from the entity where I've documented the Ontario airport, that entire venue, engaging in state surveillance. Not the sun that's over my head at that venue. State surveillance is underway, and demons fill that venue. Demons that are using airplanes to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring with the Ontario Police Department. Very heavily documented. License 6WZP832. And it's 10:32 a.m. That's Southwest Airlines that's patrolling while the entity is swiping directed light across the venue, just as you saw on video. All right, Southwest Airlines is monitoring with the people of the state and monitoring with the Ontario Police Department. And it is currently 10:33 a.m. License 6ARW984. And Securitas is engaged in criminal summoning. They're on surveillance cameras at the Ontario Town Square, monitoring the entire time. They're monitoring with the demons who you see in the Ontario Police vehicle. They're crossing path, engaging in the exact same impossible occurrence of what is directed light in motion while they are driving by me, appearing on the wall, touching me with directed light. Demons engaging in a sex offense for purposes of criminal surveillance with communication devices. While they know exactly where I'm at, they drove specifically they drove specifically down the street, knowing where I'm at, which you know through what is the impossible occurrence of this directed light. You're stalking with the directed light. You're stalking in that environment. You're engaging in the P.O.C. and you're a demon doing so. And that is, again, not any way different, or it's the same exact condition that the people of the state have revealed themselves as. All I did was tell you, I documented it. They're literally revealing their own condition because it's not just California. You're understanding what Satan is doing amongst the people. And it includes the demon possessed that are affiliated with police departments, as I just so have happened to heavily documented the demons that are the Ontario Police Department, okay? And they're engaging in criminal conduct. It's currently 10:34 a.m. And so I just want to speak to what is the criminal system that the entity is engaging in, and that was the sex offense, again, following from corner to corner where I'm at the I'm at the 150, the San Bernardino County venue. That's exactly what the entity was doing, what I captured on video. One after another, engaging in that sexual violation, a molestation with directed light, an impossible occurrence, okay? Occurring over and over and over again, in concert with the entity that is monitoring group stalking with the Sheriff's Department and the Police Department, as I documented it, leaving the museum. The entity keeping a fake sun while I am at the Wells Fargo intersection, which is where I remained also documenting for a prolonged period, and the fake sun is directly over the edge of that Wells Fargo while I stand there, but I captured it earlier at the same C Street turn circle, 49268H3, the same C Street turn circle where it's present over me at 4:06 p.m. at the same venue, where, by the way, where I'm showing you the fake sun right now at 280 North Lemon Apartments, the sun, the natural environment, not only does it not engage in what is this directed light conduct, but the sun would not be at the same address, all right, at 4:06 p.m., let alone 6:41 p.m., as I've documented, all right? And what I documented, the entity group stalking by Ontario police in that environment. There are sex offenders engaging in that criminal activity in that specific environment. And those psychopaths are engaging in what is the criminal activity while I'm monitoring. That's a very disturbed, sex offending stalker. All right, that stalker is engaging in sexual violence and engaging in it while you are literally documenting that conduct. And that's based on the nature of the crime of monitoring. So you're engaging in monitoring, you're engaging in surveillance, and you're engaging in it while your criminal activity is being documented. That's what the Ontario police, that's what's wrong with them. And that's also what they are doing. Literally, is they are crossing path, and it is the evidence of their demon possession. That demon possession is directly relevant for what is prosecution for terrorism. It's 10:36 a.m. All right, license plate. Pacing with the other minion that you see and touching with directed light, 89718W2. That's a sex offender. That's a demon, all right, touching with directed light, and doing so, again, with knowledge of the fact that I've turned off my camcorder. My video recording. These are demons that engage in sexual violence, and it's already established what they're doing and the condition that you are necessarily subject to while you're doing it. And that's a demon that's engaged in real-time monitoring and touching me with directed light. Again, driving in the shade has nothing to do with that directed light contact has nothing to do with, as you can clearly see, sunlight doesn't shoot like a laser. As you can see these minions driving by on the street. That has nothing to do with what you're seeing directed light across the building while you're driving on the street. It's the work of Satan. They're the demon possessed. And the Ontario Police Department fully publishing, because they're monitoring documentation, so you're revealing your own demon possession to the world while you are monitoring somebody who's documenting you. And that's exactly what the Ontario Police Department did. 70SX470, that's exactly what the Ontario Police Department continues to do. And that's the same Ontario Police Department, by the way, that the demon-possessed employees and patrons inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. Again, Ovid Family Community Library is not the only entity, but this is where I'm at, so I'm using them as an example. These are the demons that they are summoning. That's why they're going to federal prison. The entity is monitoring together, and then you're summoning the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department, which is captured as a matter of objective evidence. You're summoning them to engage in obstruction of justice while together, you minions are a violent sex offender monitoring while my panties are down. You're monitoring documentation. You're hostile because you're being documented, and you engage in such criminal summoning, which is the grounds for your going to federal prison, along with those demon-possessed police officers. All right, that's the malice of the system. All right, it is currently 10:43 a.m., and this is P.O.C. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. Hi. Hi. Quick question. I just had a question about the balance on my, well, this is something else, but the balance on my library card.
Yes. Do you have your card so that I can check?
Yeah. I had, I was told a while ago I had like excess funds on it because I had put like a lot of money on it because I was taking a lot of copies at the time.
Right.
And then it was just money that was sitting on there, and I was told I could not get it back, and so they sat on my account. And so right now I was going to make a copy of my paper that I have, and it says that there's a zero balance.
So what I can see, so from the library's end, you have no balance,
Yeah.
you have no charges of any kind.
Yeah.
If it's 4 copies, then that's a different system that I cannot see from here. If it's credit for copies, but
No, he was able to see it before. It's money that I put on my
4 copies, right, on print.
well, that's the purpose that I
Right.
put the money on the account
Right.
for, but it would be money that's just sitting there. They told me that they wouldn't give me the cash back and that it would just sit on my account. That's
Yeah.
how I got that library card from money that was on there. I didn't pay cash for it, and now it's stating $0 when I was going to make a Xerox copy.
Okay.
And that's just money that disappeared that you guys didn't want to give me cash back for, and now it's not even on the account.
So yes, cash back is not an option, but if you had credit, we can go check over there because I wouldn't be able to see it from here. What I can see from here
Where do I
is if you
check
had
it over
a
there?
debt.
He told me to come over here.
Well, we can go talk to him so that I
Okay.
can explain what I can see or I cannot see because
Okay.
he probably doesn't.
Okay, thank you. And what's your name again?
Mickey.
Mickey?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mickey.
You
Yeah,
talked to
sure.
Jacob, right?
I'll go with you. Hello, Greg. Excuse me. Yeah, he's the one that told me to come over here. So would you?
I guess this one is not available, so we can use the other one to check.
Okay. So like scan my birthday, my birthday card, my library card. Okay. I mean, it would be the same thing that on the computers though in there, right?
I do not know because I don't usually do this. See, what I can see over there is a different thing. It's like if you had.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I've seen it here before. Yeah. So why is the money gone now?
It is
Yeah.
0. What did you need to do today?
Well, it's really the principle of the matter that my money was on the account. As if you guys don't give the option of giving me my money that's on the account, then why would you?
It wouldn't disappear, I don't think, but that.
But maybe, I mean, this is a different library card number. Maybe.
Oh, did you get it today?
No, I got this like last week.
Last week?
And I got a new card because my other card was stolen. So I did get a new library card. But Natasha told me that I mean, this is how I paid for it. Yeah, that's how I paid for it.
When is the last time that you used your money in your account? Do you remember? Was it
When
a long time
Natasha
ago?
paid for this?
Oh, but that would be a different, like she cannot remove money from the money that you had in here because it's two different separate systems. So
I don't have any money on there.
No.
Yeah, so how else would she pay for this?
Unless you had credit.
I didn't. It was only $8 that was on here.
Okay, that I don't know.
It was like $8.
If we can see past transactions, but he would know.
I don't know. He sent me to you, so that's why I went to you.
Yeah, I'll explain what his
So the thing about it is, the only thing is, this is the only thing. It's just the fact that you guys said I can't get the cash back, so I'm expecting the money to sit on there.
No, of course.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I'm asking
Do you
for.
remember how much?
It was $8 even. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure because this is online version. So like for instance, if you click on one of these, you'll have to come here and get it. Yeah, like that's all.
21 days. Okay, so my supervisor is saying that he would be able to see, not in this computer. Oh no, that's fine. You're fine. If you want, you can log out. Now, when he's free, he can check the previous transactions, everything that
Yeah,
It was like over a year
see
ago.
his own computer, but that would have to be him. I would.
It will go back past like 2 years or something. Because that's when I put the money.
I don't know how far
Or was
back
it?
in the past.
I think it was last year.
Well, that's not too far. Like that's like 4 months. Probably 5.
Well, regardless of the issue.
He will be able to see it. Okay.
Okay.
But you'll have to wait on the inside.
Okay. Yeah, and so all I'm interested in is how those funds will be replenished. Like it just disappeared.
Yeah, you
So
can check it.
okay.
They were used up.
No, they weren't used up. I haven't been here. Okay. But already, so you're saying she probably just didn't charge me for the library card? Is that what you're
I think she didn't charge you, yeah,
Oh.
because that would be a separate.
Yeah.
I would wait here so that nobody else gets it.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mickey, right?
Yes.
All right, thanks. Mickey is monitoring, and so is Steven. That's who she's talking to. Their directed light is remaining on the elevator. They're also monitoring in the bathroom. I'm subject to that. I did go into the women's restroom where I'm subject to surveillance. And it is currently 1:32 p.m. right now, and I'm just addressing what is an account discrepancy. This is speaking to what is just the ordinary business that they're engaging in, just money disappearing off of my account, which I did not use. And obviously, when they're engaging in removing me from the premises based on lies while they're monitoring at that. I haven't even had the opportunity to use those funds, and so that's what this is about. But they're monitoring. While they're being so helpful, they're walking around being helpful in directed light, at which the entity is engaging in an ongoing threat. Being polite in your speech is directly rebutted by the threat that's posed by the presence of the specific environment. And it's currently 1:33 p.m. These minions are sitting at the computers in operation of their communication devices, engaging in the obsessive pacing around the maintenance of presence. And you can see through the images of the group stalking conduct, you're looking at these demons, for example, the one on computer 14. This minion was stalking with audible activity. In operation for a communication device, which was a method of audible activity creation. And you could see the stalker while she is in her demented mind state is illustrated through the light activity. The chair that she's sitting on, multiple shadows of the chair. All right, these are demons that are group stalking inside of the library. And she leaves the moment that I finished publishing all of my documentation. She walks right out. She was engaging in what is maintenance of presence and literally supervising on behalf of the state while I was publishing my documentation online. And what's so funny about this is I'm waiting while he's talking to another third party, and the reality of what they're doing is monitoring me. But I'm waiting. Pay attention to Greg. He's in relevant position. That's why I said hello to Greg. They're monitoring. Greg is a sex offender monitoring me in the bathroom. Directed light as I captured images of. The pattern of conduct underway at Ovid Family Community Library is fully established. I'm naming minions who have been engaged in criminal summing. They're going to federal prison. All right, and these are the ones that are present, monitoring with the people of the state, engaging in surveillance inside of this venue, Ovid Family Community Library, facilitating that. And these psychopaths are monitoring the documentation. All right, so you're also witnessing what are those who are conducting themselves as though they're ignorant of being documented. They know exactly that I'm documenting And so while you're talking about just playing Satan's game, Satan's placing you under surveillance, and so I'm documenting, all right? And so they have to engage in conduct as though they don't know that they're being documented. They do. It's currently 1:35 p.m. But again, it's not a persuasive act because Ovett Family Community Library has engaged in many concessions, admissions by virtue of their engagement in criminal summoning and waging of allegations that are false, and also speaking to what is your knowledge. You're either trying to state that you're clairvoyant, you're psychic, or you're engaged in group stalking and you're a demon who also knows what's going on in the bathrooms, for example. All right? This is P.O.C. Currently 1:35 p.m. Oh, I did. And she told me to ask you about my account.
Uh-huh.
And I know you told me to ask her. So.
Yeah, so what did she say?
Well, anyway, she told me that, here's this application. She told me that my card, the account on my card, is something that you would be able to access.
You know, I can access it, I can move it, but you're referring to, like, the fact that you used to have money?
Yeah, it was like money that I never used, and they told me, you can't get cash back. I was like, okay, well, fine then, I guess.
So I don't have any transaction of that. Like, I can't see transactions, but I can, like, move and add.
So you can see my old account then?
No, I mean, I can see any, like, that's the account number. Right?
This is a new
Yeah,
one.
that's a new one? So do you have the old?
The old card was stolen, that's why I got a new one. Right. And that card had money sitting on it for the longest time.
Do you know the number?
225-200.
Let me try looking for you by name.
I don't know the number.
All right, let me try looking for you by name.
Yeah, so my only issue was like...
Search, I guess I could search for things. So what's first and last name?
Erica Spencer.
Spencer with S-C-R or S-O-R?
E-R-I-C-A, Spencer. Oh boy, that's funny. Wow. Oh, that blacks the screen so somebody beside you can't see it, huh? That's very effective.
It's easier on the eyes too. And then Erica with a C or?
With a C.
Okay, yeah, I see 2 accounts.
Oh, okay.
And yep, I see. Okay, this is the one you're referring to.
Oh yeah, I don't need to lie about like a little bit of change of money.
There you go. See, like that's the only way. So, like, I can see that. All right, cool. So then.
Yeah, so I don't even need it anymore. But it was just I was like, well, how come I don't have no money?
I can do a transfer over.
If you could transfer it to this one,
yeah. The other one that's stolen.
Yeah, I don't have it no more.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have it anymore. Thank you. I just noticed that because I was about to use the Xerox machine, so.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna credit. And I don't know if it matters. The other one's stolen, but I could remove that old balance.
You might as.
If
what do you mean? Yeah, because I'm not gonna come across my library card again. It's gone.
I can just take out the old one.
Go ahead. I don't care. Go right ahead.
All right, so that one's credited, and I'm gonna take away the other one.
Okay, so what was it that you said that you told me to go ask them about?
Because you said that you used to have money. So like, let's say like, right now, I gave you $8, right? Okay. If let's say if tomorrow, if I were to go into your account, I can't see like someone moved $8 to make it like, to $0. Mm-hmm. There's no like transaction history or anything. So because you said you had
funds on the account,
you used to have funds.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was 2 separate cards. I thought it was like the same card.
Oh, okay.
I assume that they could check your like transactions.
Oh, okay. Like alrighty. No, that's fine. Whatever. As long as we get it resolved. Okay. Thank you. And there's my application.
Yeah. So give me one second.
Sure.
All right. So you're all set with the money. Now I can do this.
Oh, okay.
I want to make sure you end it.
Okay. Oh yeah, you still have it?
Yeah, excellent.
Alright, thank you for your help.
Right. Now it's sent over. And then, did you want a copy of this or you're fine?
I don't need it. I was gonna take a copy of the blank one, but
like I said, we'll always have some.
Okay.
Alright, so it's just sent over, so you should get it. So you remember how to do the process?
Yeah, I
I
have.
pretty much just send the link. Click the link. If you have the app downloaded,
Yeah.
you'll open up the app and you click Start My Trip. And you get 31 days of fair.
Okay. Thank you so much for your help. What's your name again?
Jason.
Japhet. Yeah. Thank you, Japhet. It's 1:40 p.m. and this is P.O.C. Alrighty. This is Ovid Family Community Library, and I'm on security cameras, and they're monitoring in real time. It's P.O.C. JFED monitoring in the bathroom. Okay, they're all in directed light. They're engaged in an ongoing molestation. You're understanding how the same exact sex offense remains underway. And this is the entity that's Ovid Family Community Library, which is City of Ontario, which is monitoring with the people of the state who enter into this venue with the criminal purpose of placing one under surveillance in violation of federal law. And I'm speaking to what is, again, additional legislation that needs to be passed because they're sex offenders engaging in that criminal surveillance in bathrooms, molesting the person with what is engineered light while they're engaging in that criminal surveillance system, engaging in what is harassment as an entity, seeking to engage in what are acts of obstruction of justice, such as kidnapping, harassment, and terrorism, summoning the demon-possessed Ontario Police Department while they are obtuse, okay? You're talking about hostile to being documented while you're engaged in criminal activity. Those are psychopaths, okay? And that's the policies that I advocate with regard to what is the criminal surveillance system that they are engaging in inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. It's 1:41 p.m. It is currently 3:07 p.m. You have these minions pacing in the book stacks. They're all in directed light, including the employees. That's called stalking with noise. These are demons. Only demons engage in what is banging books on a bookcase. That's not ordinarily what's happening when you are looking at books and placing them back on the book stacks. It's called stalking with noise. It's 3:08 p.m. It is the administration door. This is, the administration office inside of the Ovid Family Community Library. These demons pace in and out of it. It's a means of what is ongoing audible activity as they enter it. It beeps, and also the door closure, which again, the entity is amplifying what is ordinary conduct for purposes of stalking with noise. Exhibit A. Okay. Hi, I have a question. Am I able to make an appointment to get a study room?
You can for either later today or tomorrow.
You said 3:15 for the next one that's arriving for study room number 2, right? You said 5:30? Yeah. Okay. I think I can take these scratches of paper, right? It doesn't matter. Okay, thank you. That's fine. I'll probably come back. Can I use your stapler really quick? Do you mind? Thank you, ma'am. And what's your name again?
Natasha.
Natasha?
Yes.
Oh, there's 2 Natashas. There's the other
Yeah.
Natasha with really long hair,
Yeah.
the Caucasian female. Oh, okay.
So much fun to greet her.
Huh?
So much fun to greet her.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, Natasha is pacing. Natasha's pacing in directed light. So she's pacing, crossing path, and I'm engaging in a new activity, and that was putting on my coat. So as I put on my coat, Natasha is a demon, okay? Natasha, and this is how she's identifying herself. She's on surveillance cameras. She appears to be of Asian descent, somewhere mixed in there. Perhaps Caucasian and Asian, but that's what I'm getting from her physical appearance. But nonetheless, she's identifying herself as Natasha. The other Natasha is the Caucasian female. She's hefty in size, very long brown hair, and she was at the circulation desk, as I documented the other day. This Natasha is sitting at the circulation desk next to the administration office, and she is pacing, crossing path with simultaneity to my new movement, and that was putting on my coat. She is immediately crossing path in direct light. This is terrorism. All right, she's group stalking inside of the venue. She's monitoring with this demon that's sitting in front of me, engaging in what is using the sound of loud laughter to stalk with audible activity. This is terrorism. You're seeing how demons are maintaining the elements of monitoring, and they seek to appropriate their demented conduct through what you would attribute to nothing other than laughing and nothing other than looking for a book inside of the library. They're demons pissing together, and she's identifying herself with knowledge of the fact that she's being documented as Natasha. It's 3:11 p.m. This is P.O.C. 6XHL 716 or 736, molesting. And this one right here is molesting with that sex offender that is touching. They're engaging in surveillance together to engage in that molestation as I walk out. That's AVOE 852, molesting. 7WMB 651. And Securitas is molesting. This is the African-American female. She's a security guard. She's on surveillance cameras, bathroom monitoring, which is what they also are doing while they're molesting me. 6JDW 421, 7WMB 651, monitor me while my panties are down. 6AKF 566 are molesting. 8BYZ 416, these are the minions whose voice you hear. They're monitoring while my panties are down in the bathroom with Securitas. ZKSPAPA. 8PDC 329. And so they engage in surveillance. This is the entity waiting for me to exit the venue. And as I exit the venue, you have a demon that comes around to touch with engineered light. All right, that's the sex offense. That's the ongoing molestation. The sex offense is also the fact that they're engaging in surveillance when my panties are down in the bathroom. Okay. And Securitas is on security cameras at the entranceway. She's monitoring in relevant position with these demons who are engaged in surveillance outside of the library. 8FJJ013, 7UUN 561. And that is the entity that they are indeed monitoring with. Here you go. Flying right over the 280 North Women Apartments, Ontario Town Square. All those license plates I just stated, they're monitoring with the state. Securitas, this is literally evidence they're going to federal prison. It's P.O.C. That's the government monitoring with the people while I'm in the bathroom molesting. That's the perpetual sex offender. It is 8:58 p.m. Okay, so when I say that's what they're doing with the state, that's exactly what I mean. Stalking by helicopter. And who's molesting? They're going to federal prison. ZKSPAPA. Coming out of 280 North Lemon Apartments. Okay? License 8BYZ 416. They're going to federal prison. The African-American female, the Securitas, she's going to federal prison. We'll just put it that way. She's going to federal prison. All these license plates I just read, they're engaging in surveillance, and the entity flies directly over by helicopter. They're all engaging in bathroom monitoring and a sex offense, molesting, engaging in surveillance. They're demons touching with engineered light, monitoring while my panties are down, engaging in surveillance in the bathroom, tracking every step, group stalking together. 6AKF 566, federal prison. Union Pacific, group stalking with the entity. Union Pacific. License plate 7WMB 651, federal prison. 9ABR 668. Let me be clear. The company Union Pacific, there are those associated with that company that will be held responsible for this criminal surveillance that they're engaging in. That is amplification. Sounds like I'm at the museum. I'm not. That's amplification. Okay, that's demonic, and they're monitoring with the state. Let me be clear. The company Union Pacific, subject to federal prison. Okay. That's exactly what you're listening to. That's exactly what that's evidence of. 4CGL 144. That's called amped activity. It's demonic. It has nothing to do with an actual train. Molesting. License plate 7RXX121, and he's going to federal prison. That's a male. It's 9 p.m. 8JSV330. License 8XMG980. And if you pay attention to my website, I just published the documentation for May 15, 2022. And it is focused on the stalking conduct that the police department engaged in. And while I'm pointing out the entity that is group stalking with the entity that stalks by helicopter, the entity flies directly over the venue that I'm exiting by helicopter. The Ontario Police Department are indeed going to federal prison. That is the conduct of the entity that is prosecuting itself while it engages in that which it is monitoring as I publish its criminal conduct. Okay? Armed response is monitoring with the state. Those employees, if they're working here, their vehicle is here, their license plate is 8TVZ441, armed response, who I've documented before. They are engaging in federal stalking. Being on the job is no form. They are going to federal prison. Okay? License 8TAX749. 7LLP200. And so what I'm pointing out about, again, what I published about the conduct that the Ontario Police Department engaged, they brought it on themselves. They're stalkers and they're being documented and surrounded with the evidence that they're providing to me. You're a stalker and I'm documenting, and I'm also showing you how all those pieces fit together. The entity's group stalking 24 hours a day, and then I'm showing you close-up images and video of those stalkers with that same police department, and I surrounded that evidence with the stalking conduct of the entity by helicopter. It is not a coincidence that the entity then flies over me by helicopter while I exit that venue. They're going to federal prison. And so I also want to document the fact that I just published that evidence with regard to May 15, 2022. I'm going to publish the on my website because it's already published on YouTube. But the images, the videos, and all that is also already published on Google Drive. But I fully publish all of my documentation onto my website, and all the videos are visible. And the entity engages, this is Satan you're dealing with again. And with regard to what is the demonic activity you're prosecuting, that's translating into a prosecution. Under federal law, that's an impermissible threat, where you're dealing with what is an infuriated demon-possessed entity that engages in what is expressing that hostility through threatening your life and stalking you by helicopters and demon-possessed police officers who are bearing weapons, stalking you in the night, stalking you at all times during the day, and then doing so with the people of the state who are stalking with methods of directed light, absolutely abnormal. Terrorizing conduct, 7JZX 579, federal prison. 7FZR 234, federal prison. They're molesting, pacing around an engineered light with the entity that's stalking by helicopter. And so while the entity is engaging in this conduct and I am publishing it, the pattern of conduct is that the entity, which is demon-possessed, this is Satan, that is, again, it's to its own demise. But this is the pattern. You're surrounding with legislation aware of the pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is to engage in what is terrorizing conduct, threatening the life of the American citizen who seeks to confront their, assert their constitutional rights. All right. In other words, confront the entity that is placing you under surveillance. All right. I want to document this minion that's parked at the bus stop with the minion whose license plate I just read. They're maintaining presence around the perimeter of Metro 102 apartments, 6WKW726. This is called stalking with light. All right. They're doing so parked at the bus stop, and they're doing so parked at the open driveway, the ingress and egress of the parking garage at Metro 102. They're surrounding with light activity. Okay. That's terrorism. And they're going to federal prison for that. It's facilitation, and the entity is stalking by helicopter, as is always the case. But like I said, that's literally what it looks like. I took pictures of that so you can see what the people of the state, what demons do. They stalk around you with methods of light activity. License ROB3KKD. That's the license plate that I read earlier. And I said that I had documented them before. They were crossing paths. That's Metro 102. They're monitoring with the entity that's stalking by helicopter, and they are subject to federal prison. And when I documented them this morning, that's exactly what they were doing, monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, engaging in criminal summoning, engaging in ongoing molestation, while those demons were pacing repeatedly and molesting repeatedly. So anyway, the entity's conduct is such that the demon-possessed engage in more conduct while it is nothing other than infuriated. And so the stalking entity that is demon-possessed engages in ongoing stalking. Okay, they're continuously stalking, and they also engage in what is communicating their hostility by engaging in the very conduct that I'm pointing out. Well, they're stalkers and they're stalking by helicopter. So then I exit the venue, and the entity is stalking by helicopter. 24375E1. Entity flies over me by helicopter, okay? As I stated, the entity engages in replicating the conduct that I am documenting, which is also not a coincidence, especially when there's such very peculiar events, okay? Stalking by helicopter, that in and of itself is a very, that's an outstanding event, okay? And not only that, it's occurring in the specific environment, in directed light, amplified audible activity. All right. And so, like I said, the entity replicates the conduct that I document in real time. So as yesterday, like I pointed out, the entity is engaging in what is harassment, yelling out vulgarities under the fake sun in directed light at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, as I specifically document the fact that the entity engages in what is harassment while these demons look left and right everywhere like they're engaged in something else. But the moment I hold my phone and take a picture, which is a silent act, while I'm across the field, oh, Satan looks directly at me once I do that. Okay, because you're focused on me the whole time. You're a stalker. That's Satan, okay? And the entities, I'm taking a picture. This is another demon stalking in the path of light. They're going to federal prison. This is the entity, and I'm taking pictures of it because you need to look at what is the surveillance by the entity that is the people of the state. 7 DUW 585, federal prison. You want to engage in surveillance with the government, you can go to federal prison because that's where the government's going. And they're doing so on behalf of, let me be clear, all they need, the only difference between them and the Ontario Police Department, the only difference is that those demons of the Ontario Police Department are wearing a badge. They're engaging in the same exact criminal activity. And what is worse is that the Ontario Police Department are demons engaging in this criminal system, and they bear weapons while doing so. They exercise fictitious authority under the law while doing so, while this public corruption is in progress. It's literally ongoing. Okay, that is an unlawful threat. So literally, as I walk from corner to corner, I took pictures of what is the entity maintaining light activity, stalking, sitting in the middle of the street, parked at the bus stop, just maintaining presence around me as I'm walking. That's group stalking. All right, and they're doing so using their vehicles as methods of light. And this is also the entity that's witnessing my documentation that I just published, flying over my head by helicopter, and like I was stating, replicating the very conduct that I document, which is to its own demise. Okay, every license plate that I stated, while you hear the helicopter, they're going to federal prison. They're going to federal prison. This is literally the evidence that the state provides against its own third parties. Okay, that's how that works. It's the same thing while the entity likes to stalk by police, you're providing evidence against the third parties that you are group stalking with. License plate, 8HGL 686, 6R56721. And let me be clear, it's not like I need it. The Ontario Police Department, they're not helping me. 8BUH403. I already established a pattern of conduct. You're looking at the pattern of conduct, but as I've shown it to you, this is what they're doing. A, B, and C, X, Y, and Z. Now stand back and look at what they're doing. It's the same exact P.O.C. as I've shown it to you. While then the entity acts directly, this is one entity acting together directly and vicariously. While the entity acts directly, they're monitoring with the entity that's acting vicariously on its behalf. They're prosecuting each other. It's evidence. 8TXN710. They're not helping me while they do that. But with regard to what is evidence, with regard to what is an established pattern, literally, this is the entity that is imploding. That's what I mean by that. It is literally imploding. You are documenting this, and that is the flip side of engaging what is criminal conduct as a group with partners. What your partner does, you're going down for it. All right? And this is speaking to what is an unprecedented level of criminal conspiracy. It's group stalking, which is demonic. And so you're not only talking about what is that criminal activity, it is the twist is that it's not just your some conspiracy to engage in a bank robbery. This is conspiracy to engage in what is criminal monitoring, which at its core, which is also a matter of direct evidence, is demonic. That's relevant to what is terrorism. There is no law that's addressing demonic activity. There's no law that's addressing what is being in environments where the entity is literally stalking and molesting your body with engineered light, not even normal light that lights up in the shade. It doesn't disappear. It sits up on your body. All right. It flies across asphalts and streets and up buildings. All right. The entity is engaging in what is an ongoing targeting and accosting, attacking with this light, touching all over your body, touching your anatomy, doing so, touching you and following you into bathrooms with this light. An entirely abnormal environment, surrounding you with this light that's above your head and on ceilings and roofs, surrounding you, creeping in where there is no light. Suddenly you're witnessing the light that creeps in around you. That's entirely terrorizing, especially as the entity is the target individual is even documenting. You're talking about what is law, that there is no law that addresses what is demonic activity. That's entirely demonic. You want to switch the synonym with demonic? That's entirely twisted. It's very peculiar. It's weird. It's creepy. It's freaky. Okay? It's sick. It's wicked. It's scary. Okay? Whatever adjective you want to put in there, it's that times infinity. Because you cannot quantify that level of terror while an entity is doing that. Every single last vehicle on the street that drives by you, light is touching on your person, flashing all over the place. That is an unprecedented level of harassment by demons who are stalking. Okay? You're talking about what is an uncommon and abnormal event recurring over and over and over again while the entity is stalking all around you. And by stalking, meaning you are subject to what is an environment where helicopters are always flying over you everywhere that you go. That is stalking. Okay? While this ongoing conduct with this light activity coexists with that stalking conduct, and stalking in a manner that is inherently terrorizing. Okay, there is not federal law that addresses adequately. Okay, you're talking about what is terrorism on its face, stalking an American citizen with helicopters and by law enforcement, which is a matter of documentation. That the police are stalking is a matter of documented evidence, even outside of the P.O.C. of federal group stalking and monitoring. Okay, now you're talking about what is getting into the entity stalking by police in and of itself, and then you're getting into what the police are doing with the people of the state. They're all stalking together. That's where the pattern of conduct of group stalking came from, because the police were following everywhere that I went. Okay, and I've already gone through that many times. What I'm speaking to is that there is not existing federal law that addresses nor adequately addresses at all, actually, what is demonic, because that's what this is. And I also want to state the fact that I am able to not only expose, define, and I would say contextualize for you what is demonic activity, specify it, give you examples of what it is that you're looking at and the fact and how that is demonic. I want to be clear, even outside of that adjective of demonic, which is a very real thing. I'm showing you what is nothing other than the environment that's around me. It's an abnormal environment. This is abnormal conduct. Even the criminal conduct of the government stalking by helicopter is evidence of what I'm stating. Stalking with a fake sun. An entity stalking me by helicopter is evidence of the police engaging in group stalking. The entity stalking me by helicopters is evidence of what is very peculiar. That is demonic conduct. Okay? The fact that the entity is stalking in that manner, because it is such an extraordinary circumstance, which is it's inevitably linked to whatever the allegation of that American citizen is. You are automatically going to listen, because why in the heck would they be following her around with helicopters? Okay, that's the question. That's a common sense question. All right, no legal eagle has to sit down and pontificate about that. So I just want to be clear on that. But even above that, my point is that the entity's pattern of stalking in this regard, stalking in this manner, even outside of what I have made, even given you further context and defined for you, this is demonic. Demonic is not what you saw in the movie Hocus Pocus. This is demonic, okay? When I'm showing it to you so you can witness it with your own eyes, I want to be clear, even outside of the use of that specific adjective, what shall be recognized under federal law, what is necessarily recognized under federal law, and understanding what is already defined under federal law with regard to what is terrorism. Okay, what is a literally like a hyperbolized level of a threat to your life? Okay, it is an extraordinary level of a threat. This environment in and of itself is terrorism. Okay, that's not addressed under law. The federal law is addressing terrorism in ways such as, well, obviously, with regard to nations and whatnot, engaging in terrorism, posing a threat. I'm not talking about that. Well, actually, I am. That's a type of terrorism. Terrorism, speaking to what is, for example, gangs, and the type of terrorism, that's a way that you can prosecute gangs engaging in gang activity. The courts are utilizing what is laws with regard to terrorizing threats and whatnot. I want to be clear, this is directly applicable to what is demonic activity. It is a terrorizing threat while you are subject to what are acts of supernatural conduct. That is entirely inexplicable, and it's very, very frightening. And it's also serving a criminal purpose, and it is a recurring environment everywhere that you're going. That is terrorism. And that is a very real threat to your life that is even exacerbated while the government is stalking by helicopters everywhere that you're going day and night, while the government is stalking by police officers who are bearing weapons, seeking to obstruct justice, while they are monitoring your documentation because they're engaged in criminal surveillance. They already know what you're documenting or seeking to enforce your rights and whatnot. And also, not only because it's the government that knows that and keeping you under surveillance, let me be clear, you're dealing with what is the demonic. Satan knows exactly, while it is targeting you, Satan knows exactly what it is that you are paying attention to what you're noting, also what you're doing on communication devices. This demonic system is centered on the use of technology, all right? These demons know exactly what you're doing. These demons are stalking with methods of light activity, audible creation while you're on a phone. They're not even looking at you. These are demons that know exactly what's going on communication devices. This is central to this demonic activity, okay? And all I'm doing is showing you what is a demonic pattern of conduct. Don't ask me how that works. I do not know. And that's not for any target individual to explain, but that's a specific pattern that the demon possessed engage in. And those demons engage in that conduct, and they are demons by a matter of objective evidence. Directed light, which you saw again today on the 280 North Lemon Apartments, an apartment building. You see inexplicable light just spread across that building. And then you see what are people that are driving by, and all of a sudden more light is just moving across the building. That's the inexplicable conduct. That is the demonstration of demon possession. That is the presence of Satan. Okay, that's a demonic environment. That's demonic activity. That is amongst the demon possessed. And in addition to what is facilitating criminal activity, that demonic activity in and of itself to be criminalized. That demonic activity in and of itself is terrorism, necessarily recognized under federal law. Okay, so anyway, it's currently 9:16 p.m. and I am at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, and the entity is group stalking by helicopter. Let me let you listen to what is stalking by commercial airline planes right here over the side of the museum where I'm laying, and that is very likely the demons of Southwest Airlines. Group stalking with the people at the state at Emporia Lofts and the Rojas Enterprises. They're group stalking with light, just like they were as I walked from the library to this museum, from block to block in the parking lot while the entity was flying over me by helicopter. Emporia Lofts is the third-party facilitating venue, group stalking in the path with light while the entity flies directly over the side of the museum where I'm at. The same side where you saw the fake sun this morning, the same side where you saw the fake sun on the opposite side of the same Ontario Museum at 5:35 p.m. And I captured video again at 5:48 p.m. All right, capturing the demonic, by the way, because that's an impossible occurrence. It's currently 9:17 p.m. The demon possessed, again, that's Emporia Lofts. That's the street that I stood on where the Ontario Police Department were group stalking. They were stalking with light at that venue, as I captured on video yesterday at 10:12 in the morning. Emporia Lofts is a third-party facilitating venue where the people of the state are in relevant position. They are group stalking in the parking lot of Rojas Enterprises, this parking lot that's in perfect alignment where the entity is also stalking in alignment, flying directly over me. They are group stalking by targeting. These are demons. I know exactly where I'm at. And so all I'm doing is I'm capturing the evidence of what they're, all I have to do is show you because they're doing it, okay? And so they're stalking with light, demons stalk with light. Another iteration of that stalking with light conduct is what you saw on video with the directed light while the Ontario Police Department, while the demons that are the people of the state whose license plate I was reciting, while I was standing at 280 North Lemon Apartments and the fake sun was directly over my head, and while I'm standing in on the shaded sidewalk, you have what is inexplicable light that's on that wall at a distance with my shadow upright at a distance, appearing in that manifestation of light, appearing out of nowhere. And while the demons were driving by, light was moving across and touching all over my person. That's a method of stalking with light. Okay, that's another conduct of the demon possessed, stalking with light. So anyway, it's 9:19 p.m. and the entity is indeed stalking with the people of the state at Emporia Lofts, and the entity is stalking by commercial airline planes flying directly over the venue. They're circling, they're pacing over there at the Emporia Lofts and the Rojas Enterprises. That's the venue right across the street. All right, it's currently 9:19 p.m. That's federal prison. I want to be clear. The people of the state at Emporia Lofts, every single last one of them, literally their lease agreements is evidence of presence. The entity is group stalking day and night. That's just one venue. I'm just giving you an example of how you're going to prosecute what is massive surveillance and the entity doing it through the people. Showing you an image at what is 9:19 p.m. You have other minions. They're just patrolling back and forth. Multiple cars driving through that parking lot. That's called pacing. That's what they're doing. And they're stalking in the path with light. That's entirely demented. You have to understand those are sick people that do that. Okay, that's the work of Satan. But like I said, when you're understanding what is demon possession, you're understanding, again, with that prosecution, being prosecuted for what is federal group stalking and monitoring, which is the conduct of the demon possessed. And as I've shown, the pattern of conduct is such that it's occurring everywhere. Everybody is subject to that same exact condition by virtue of what is the environment that is a scientific impossibility, which I've also accumulated in what is objective evidence. Okay, so that is speaking to what is a very real issue in the state. I'll just keep it at the state of California, but again, it's bigger than the state of California, because you're talking about I'm in Southern California. You're talking about what is over you in the sky space where you're at, and I'm letting you know what this is not the natural environment as it has been defined to us, as we've been taught. This is an entire lie, and the ability to be at this same address, the Ontario Museum of History and Art, standing on the front portion facing Euclid Avenue at 8 in the morning, and standing at the back portion facing what is Lemon in the afternoon after 5 p.m. And I'm showing you what is the exact same position of what you would call the sun, but that is not the sun. And that's a matter of evidence. I published it on video so you can see it, okay? Because I understand, and any person should be able to prove what are any allegations that you had, let alone allegations of which are unfathomable, of which, this has to do with what is supernatural conduct. This has to do with what is contesting what are supposedly scientific facts, all right, that nothing can refute. Well, that's not true. My evidence directly refutes what are scientific facts, and that is speaking to scientific facts regarding the way the natural environment works. So how does that work with regard to prosecution? It's evidence that this is not the natural environment. It's a scientific impossibility based on those scientific facts, which are teaching us lies about the way that this environment actually works. It has nothing to do with it. This is the real-time control of the environment by Satan itself, and these are minions that are in that environment. And this is also ongoing criminal conduct, and Satan is very serious about what it is doing amongst the people, and that is speaking to the threat that I pose, and that's why the entity in turn, again, while it is prosecuting itself, providing ongoing confirmation, not that I need it, but you're talking about what is an established pattern of conduct, right? And then you're continuously engaging in that. There's no way to refute what it is that I've established. There's no explanation for what the entity is continuously doing. You're talking about what is the P.O.C, just like I've stated it, all right? So anyway, while the entity is engaging in this conduct, that is evidence of what is a scientific impossibility. All right. And so that's for you. You sit with that. You do with that what you will. What I'm doing with it is serving for a prosecution, because the demon possessed that are having access to police departments, that have access to sheriff's departments and fire departments and emergency vehicles, ambulances, and you're a whole psychopath just stalking somebody, just sounding sirens all day and all night. What type of sick person? Okay. I was going to, but I'll keep it professional. That's sick. That's very, very disturbing. And with regard to the prosecution for federal group stalking and monitoring, the mental state is directly drawn into question of the entity that's engaging in the P.O.C. As many as they are, okay, that is speaking to a very large issue in the state of California. And that's what I've revealed. It is a matter of public corruption, and it's not limited to Southern California. And that is speaking to what, again, the implications of my documentation. The criminal setting is the environment, and the environment is speaking to what's the environment everywhere. It's not just around me. It's speaking to what's happening everywhere else. Okay? So like I said, that's speaking to what is massive corruption, but speaking to what is massive, this condition, which is in other words, this is, a very real issue. You're talking about a lot of crazy people, in other words, a lot of disturbed people. And you're talking about, like I was stating this morning, a ticking time bomb. Okay, that fury, that hostility is shown as I'm revealing the truth about it. Okay, and I'm not talking about some loudmouth minions. Yes, that is an example of it, and they're going to federal prison for that. Getting hostile because I'm documenting you. You're a whole psychopath who's spitting out light while your group's stalking under a fake sun. You're a sicko. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the entity that's stalking by helicopters and police. That's a method of demonstrating aggression and hostility while they know that I'm documenting them. You can even disregard the minions who are acting on behalf of the state, by the way, while they show hostility, all right, as I'm documenting. I'm not even talking about that. All right, I'm talking about the entity that is stalking obsessively by helicopters. That's the entity that's showing aggression and hostility. All right, with knowledge of the fact that I'm documenting that. Okay, so like I said, the entity is engaging in a very specific pattern of conduct, and prosecution for group stalking is that which is while you are subject to that prosecution. Okay, and this is speaking to, like I said, every corner in the state of California, the people of the state shall be prosecuted, because this is a state system. I don't have to fly up to San Francisco. I'm going to let you know what the pattern of conduct is based on the evidence, speaking to what is a very confirm a pattern of conduct established. The entity is stalking with the whole environment, and the entity would engage in a grand departure, keeping a fake sun over me in San Francisco, perhaps trying to cover it up in the morning and keeping it over me in the evening, or trying to cover it up in the sky. And I've shown every iteration of the same exact pattern of conduct, and it is that which the entity is engaging in, okay, on an ongoing basis, and it is serving for the entirety of that state. Okay, and that's evidence against the entirety of that state. This is what the entity was doing, by the way, this morning, as I was at the museum, documenting the Caucasian male. He's sitting on the bench. This is exactly what the sheriff's department was engaged in. The entity flew over in this exact manner. This morning, as I got up, what I documented, that's exactly what the entity was doing. And I've already established my credibility, but this is a great example. That's exactly what I documented. The entity flew directly over this morning, and I did get up moments later, and I did walk and documented that whole pattern while the Ontario police were group stalking, the sheriff's department, FedEx, the people of the state group stalking at the museum. I captured images of him. You're paying attention to what's the same conduct, a different face, maintaining presence around me at the museum while I get up. All right, and this is what the entity is doing. All right, so this is the entity that's engaging in what is that conduct, and this is the evidence against the people. So you listen to that, because I'm going to play this tape back when the Ontario Police Department are subject to federal prison, because that's exactly what they're going. This is the criminal conduct that they're engaging in, and they're monitoring right now. Okay, this is how the entity is showing hostility to what I am continuously publishing, and I'm also going to use this against them. All right, so like I was stating, the entity's conduct is that the show of aggression. You can disregard the third parties who I'm showing their faces and capturing their criminal acts. The entity is showing aggression and hostility while it's stalking by helicopter, flying over in circles. There's no confusion about what you're stalking. They're stalking me, flying over circles over me. Okay, and that's called amplified audible activity. That's a demon stalking in directed light. All right, and doing so because Satan is angry. Satan's going to federal prison. All right, and that's necessary as a matter of justice. And with regard to the state of California, every single last person in the state of California is subject to what is federal prosecution for this criminal system, because this is what the state of California is doing on an ongoing basis through the very people of the state. So in other words, I just happen to be in Southern California. If I was in Central California, if I was in Northern California, the pattern is established what the entity is doing. All right, and that is serving for the prosecution for every minion, every sleeping minion, because that's all they are. They're sleepers. And wherever you go, the entity is following with that environment, which is the evidence, because you're talking about what's a grand departure. The sun's not going to be over the Ovid Family Community Library all day long when you are keeping it over me when I go to San Francisco, which is what the entity does. Something analogous to that, that's what the entity did when I went to Palmdale. Okay, this is published in 2021, October 2021. All right, it's currently 9:28 p.m., and this is just the wealth of evidence. The Emporia Lofts, the people of the state, literally their lease agreements is the evidence of their presence, and they're going to federal prison for that. And this is serving for what is general policy of how you prosecute an entity engaging in this criminal surveillance. The people of the state are doing it. Let me be clear. Mickey, Greg, the Abigail, okay, J. Fed, the Stephen, that are group stalking inside of the Ovid Family Community Library, they're going to federal prison, okay? I've already spoken many times about Sean Thrasher. Yes, he's going to federal prison, but like I said, those that I was documenting today, they were group stalking all day long inside of the Ovid Family Community Library with this entity that is stalking right now by helicopter, while it is serving to prosecute Mickey, the Asian female, and Natasha, group stalking all day on behalf of this government. That's grounds of federal prison. Doing so in concert with the Ontario Police Department. Okay? And this is the evidence of it. And they are indeed going to federal prison. All right? Group stalking on Emporia. Stalking with light. So let me show you video now. Alrighty, it is currently 9:40. I did pause this because I wanted to capture video, and that is substantial video that I captured. It's over 9 minutes long, and it's over 9 minutes that the entity is audibly and visibly stalking by helicopter. Like I said, the system of group stalking is that which is a hallmark. The entity is always stalking by helicopter. It's an ongoing method of the group stalking system. Okay, what the entity is doing is using helicopter activity as a method to communicate a threat. All right, in the same way that it does through the entity and every other method. Group stalking by police officers who are driving by you, they're always group stalking. They engage in what is group stalking in a way where you can see it with the intent to communicate a threat. Okay, they're group stalking on back streets in relevant position, driving all around, being demons, monitoring with the people of the state. Okay, they're doing so in your presence for you to witness it, to communicate an unlawful threat. The grounds of federal prison. Okay, the entity is engaging in what is this documented criminal act, and I am explaining a lot in that video with regard to what is the necessary federal law, which is serving to it's ongoing evidence. That's exactly what M. Ross was engaging in, while he's got this very nonchalant attitude, as though I don't know what, it doesn't even matter what Satan thinks. Satan's going to federal prison, and I'm referencing the name Satan because that's what M. Ross's condition is. That was a demon. And he demonstrated direct light is on the ground while he's opening and closing the door. That is not the sun that is possibly over me, while I have documented at the same time in a faraway city, Chino, California, and the light source is directly over my head in that same exact manner while I'm standing at the American Legion, a street that over off of Emporia, okay, and across the street from the museum. In the evening at 5:35, the fake sun remains across the street over me at the museum. I was at Emporia, which is across the street from the museum, at that time at 10:19 in the morning. Not only that, at 10:19 in the morning, I have documented my placement in Chino, California, for that very purpose of showing what is stalking within environment. That is how you know M. Ross is a demon. Okay, he is a demon that's bearing weapons, engaging in group stalking, and doing so in plain sight, playing with his little puppy dog, while you're terrorizing another in your audible activities. Is there anything that I can help you with? Okay, he was monitoring, okay, and doing so while the entity was flying over by commercial airline planes, targeting that conduct, acting in concert with this government that was flying over me as I captured in a video for an excess of over 9 minutes, and is still doing so. Like I said, that is the pattern of conduct that is ceaselessly underway. So all I'm doing is showing you the images and video of these demons who are group stalking with this government, as you're getting a vivid picture while the entity is stalking by helicopter. They're group stalking all day long. All I'm doing is showing you the faces. They're all group stalking together. They're group stalking with the police departments. They're group stalking in the libraries. They're group stalking in the bathroom. They're group stalking in the grocery store. They're group stalking. It's the state of California. All right, and I've shown you what is that environment that's following all around. So nonetheless, this is a substantial video that I captured, and you're going to remember who I documented. Like I said, there is no exception. They are all, and there is no honor amongst them. There's nothing noble about any of them. That's exactly how you see me treat them. They're a bunch of demons. They're a bunch of cockroaches. They're despicable. They make me sick. Because what I am looking at is the truth of what they're doing and the malice that they do it with. That's despicable to me, okay? And so all I have to do is keep a cool hand. Instead of, in which I understand what I was documenting this morning with this demon, this Latina female, a demon-possessed group stalker engaging in surveillance, sitting in her car while the entity is engaged in criminal summoning. She's in the custody of a child. She's engaging in a sexual molestation. I'm being molested with inexplicable light. All right, and you see her face while she's group stalking, like she's perplexed. She's monitoring, and she is a demon, okay? In other words, Satan is all over her. She's demon-possessed. She's engaging in unprecedented criminal conduct with this government that's stalking right now by helicopter. That's what was underway, okay? That same government is not going anywhere when I'm at the Ovid Family Community Library. That's what group stalking is. And that's why I'm saying you are providing evidence against all of the minions that I just documented today. Okay, that I've been documenting for a prolonged period. You're not stalking by helicopter for no reason. You're stalking because I am documenting the fact that you're a stalker, and they're all stalking together. That's what the system of group stalking is. And so while I'm documenting, and I gave an example this morning, and I stated the fact that group stalkers, the people of the state, engage in not only including minors in the pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is also sexually violent criminal activity. And you're going to be prosecuted as a sex offender that's engaging in sexual violence with minors. That's exactly how you're going to be prosecuted. You're sexually violating another, and you're doing so with minors, via minors, including minors, in the ways that demons sexually violate. Demons engage in what is molesting you with what is directed light. Okay, evidence of the fact that you've been molested, sexually violated, in other words, in ways in which the ordinary target individual has no evidence of it, and you're described as some sort of paranoid schizophrenic, some sort of person who's suffering hallucinations, but for documentation. That's malice, okay? That's despicable to me. Minions of the medical profession who are lying, okay? Telling you that you're hearing things, or telling you that you're crazy, or that you're hallucinating, or in my case, making up information, making up a medical history that doesn't even exist. You never even had any legal consent. I mean, straight up and down kidnapped, and you're making up information. That's how desperate those demons in the medical profession were. They're going to federal prison for that. They're the same entity that's stalking me right now by helicopter. That's documented. That has not been forgotten. They're going to federal prison. This is how the system works, though. Okay, there are those that are of that same condition that are in the medical profession, and they are lying. Demonic activity is very real. You're not hallucinating. You are capable. Satan is engaging in, as I've documented, making the sound of a train around me when there's not even any train. There's no train on the tracks. And the sound of the train is not that loud. This is common sense. But let me be clear. But for the ability and the skill set to document, to show you what is demonic conduct, it is an unjust thing. That's what's so nauseating to me. That's what's so despicable about these minions. Because you're talking about what is another infliction of harm to the ordinary target individual who was called some sort of person suffering from hallucinations. And that's not the case. That is not the case. Satan is a liar. Satan is surrounding you with what is audible activity. Satan is engaged. Let me be clear. As I've given you examples of using methods of creating the audible activity of a train, guess what else Satan can do? Guess what else Satan does? Okay? The sounds of voices. Okay? When there's nobody around. In the same way, surrounding me with the sound of train when there's no freaking train on the tracks. Okay? So, but for documentation, and I understand that because you're talking about dealing with a bunch of liars. All right. And this is speaking to what is, again, this is judgment coming down from the heavens. So you're talking about what is, there will be no going back and forth with Satan. We're not going back and forth. We're not doing that. There's no debate. What you're doing and the environment that you're doing it is a matter of objective evidence. And there is nothing that even Satan can say to confront that evidence. All they can try to do is just try to act like it's not happening and try to engage in what is conduct in which somebody with that has nothing to do with what's going to occur in a court, because you're not looking at what is just the surface. You're looking at the totality of circumstances. You're going to be thoroughly prosecuted and analyzed and examined. And that's through what is also evidence that's provided. And your superficial reasoning for why you were there or what was going on or how nice you were, what you said to all of that is irrelevant to what is the pattern of conduct. Okay, talking about how you're not a demon is irrelevant. You're not addressing the criminal allegations. All right, and the fact that you're a demon is also a matter of objective evidence, but that's not even what is centered on the P.O.C. But like I said, this is what is so despicable about it, and that's the reality of that. And you have a lot of people that are walking around thinking that they're crazy, and you're not. Okay, Satan is real. Satan is a liar. Satan is a liar. Satan has minions in positions lying to you. You're walking around drugged up, thinking that you're crazy, and you're not. You are not. Okay? In the same way, I've shown you what is the pattern of conduct. I've shown you what that P.O.C. is. You're applying what is this knowledge that you have and understanding the ways in which minions are positioned, very well positioned, possibly very likely in your life. And these are the type of lies that Satan parrots to you, that you're hallucinating, that you're hearing things. No, I've shown you what actually is the pattern of conduct. And that's a matter of objective evidence. You actually cannot hear the train from that far away when I'm in front of 630 North Fern Avenue. And that's not that's not going to remain a mystery in federal court. What is actually the realistic length distance where you're actually going to hear the train, that will be in violation of zoning laws. It's just common sense. And you're not going to have a train in operation that frequently that's creating that wide of a disturbance. It's not. You're actually what is demonic activity. The entity is surrounding me with what is that loud volume of the sound of the train, which you actually can hear. I documented it, so you hear it. There is no hallucination going on. The entity is engaging what is stalking with the method of audible activity. But what is relevant to that is that it's actually demonic. And in a normal environment, you would not be able to hear that. And that's just a matter of common sense. You can't hear that. That's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous distance that you are not hearing the train. You're talking about so many people who's not able to be in their house and have any peace and quiet. You cannot have any apartment under your lease agreement having a your right to quiet enjoyment, which is this is just my knowledge of ordinary, rights under an ordinary lease. You're renting an apartment, guess what? If you're renting an apartment where there's a nuisance that exists, that's something that they would have to tell you in your lease agreement. Well, it is a lot of loud train activity over here. That's not what's going on. Okay, they're doing this around senior citizens, stalking, flying, hovering over these senior citizen apartments with helicopters and airplanes. That's exactly what happened tonight as I was leaving the library. You know why that's tolerated? Because they're all demons engaging in criminal conduct. The reality is that the libraries are not ordinarily this loud, so much racket, so blow, boom, bang, like they're blowing up stuff. You know why? Because it's full of demons. They're all stalking with noise. That's why that engineered light is there. It's the demonic formula. Noise, engineered light, relevant positioning. They're group stalking. Okay? This is what the entity is doing. And so, like I said, that spills over to, this is a real life example I'm giving you. The entity, Satan itself is a liar, and you're talking about lies that you may have been told that you're hallucinating, no, Satan's very well engaged in that. And I've documented that pattern of conduct. You're creating the sound of a train, and there's no train on the tracks, sir. There is no train on the tracks right now. Okay, and there is none. And it's also occurring, what is also speaking to the ability to just create that noise is that it occurs pursuant to the demonic behavioral pattern with simultaneity to what I'm doing. The moment I make a sudden move, all of a sudden you hear the sound of a train. Where did the train come from? There's not even any train on the train tracks. All right, you're talking about what is an ongoing pattern. It's not a coincidence in the specific environment. Engineered light. You have shadows that are all around your person. That's not normal light. That's not light that's coming from, that's hanging from a ceiling over your head. That will create one shadow. You're looking at that also when I'm showing you what is directed light, when my shadow's upright on walls at a distance away, enlarged in size, but then there's my shadow that's on the ground. Okay, you're looking at, that's the specific environment. This is the demonic environment. This is the P.O.C. Okay, this is translated as a matter which is entirely unjust. Okay, and it is despicable to me the ways in which Satan lies, making people think or having people think, and this is through minions who are lying, and unfortunately those who may not know any better, telling you that you have some mental issue, and no, you don't. The only ones who have issues are these demon-possessed minions. They have serious issues. You're talking about what is a burden, walking around with Satan on you, and you're a freak weirdo. You're engaging in surveillance all day long. You're literally following around somebody. I don't even know you. What are you doing with your life? You are group stalking in the middle of the day. You're group stalking in the middle of the night. You're sitting in a library stalking somebody all day long. You sit around listening to somebody pull their panties down in the bathroom. You're demented in multiple ways, okay? You're flying in circles over somebody for 10 minutes, on and off, and just repeatedly, day in and day out. There's something wrong with you, okay? Seriously. So like I said, this morning, I made an example of this minion who's group stalking and while she's in the custody of a child. And like I stated, I sympathize with the ordinary target individual. I'm in this position for a reason. Because I am subject to it and I'm speaking to it, I'm defining it, I am literally legislating around it, does not make me any less of a target individual. I am literally in the position and I know exactly what the ordinary target individual is subject to and how I can empathize. I can more than empathize. I know exactly what that target individual is subject to and the ways in which the entity is inflicting harm. So I want it both physical and psychological. Okay. So I want to be clear. The entity is engaging in what is conduct and you are posing a threat to a child while you are in that environment monitoring with the government who engages in stalking by police, stalking by a whole bunch of minions who are in a terrorizing environment, facilitating that terrorizing environment, stalking by flying over you by airplanes and by helicopters, and surrounding stalking with police officers and fire departments and ambulances, etc., and engaging in this entirely demented environment, which you saw with this directed light on the wall, and I'm being accosted with directed light while demons are driving by, and this demon with this child in the car is engaging in surveillance, group stalking, sitting in her car. So the moment that I start walking toward her, then she gets out of her car as though that's what she was in the midst of doing. She wasn't. She was sitting in her car, monitoring the whole time, a sicko. Her kid's in the back seat. She's not worried about that child. First of all, she makes me sick based on that. Okay. But this is the breakdown. Let me be clear. News headlines that you may have heard before. This is again another real world example. Real life example, a targeted individual that's subject to something that they don't even know what's going on around them. They don't know what this directed light conduct is, if they even are really aware of it. Okay, I'm pointing out details that you need to become aware of. Pay attention to the environment around you. It's an unnatural one. And you are paying attention to what is the harassment that you're subject to by demons or stalking you. These aren't just random strangers. They're demons that are targeting you together. And one of the ways in which they target you is through harassment. It's not just random harassment that you're subject to on the job and then people just being rude to you when you get on the train or get on the bus, or people just being mean to you when you're even at your church or just in the store, wherever. It's not separate. In the specific environment, this is the way in which the demon possessed are targeting you. It's called harassment by an entity, and it's a hallmark. Okay, but like I said, the ordinary target individual that may very well flip a gasket. Okay, say they just lose it. Say you have one that is a little more vulnerable, okay, does not have the intestinal fortitude to weather this level of demented conduct, an entity, a government stalking you, flying over you day and night by helicopter. Say you flip a gasket, okay, and you just lose it, and you start attacking people, or perhaps you have a gun and you start shooting at people, or you have a knife, all right, and you attack someone. I am in no way advocating violence. All I'm stating is that you're talking about what is being targeted by an entire government of people and a human being that loses it under that sort of targeting system. You're human. I'm saying in that regard, I understand it. Okay? I get it. That's what I'm saying I sympathize with. So while you are group stalking with a child, You are posing a threat to that child. You do not know what that target individual, you don't know where they are at while you are targeting them. So let's be clear who the criminal is at the outset. The entity is the criminal. The entity is a criminal who is in custody of children engaging in this sick system. That you are placing children in that sick environment in and of itself is a demonstration that you are a threat to that child and you have no business being around them. It's revealing your condition. You're a threat to that child. You're engaging in what is entirely demented. Your mind state is automatically at question. There are so many ways in which you are necessarily prosecuting and honing in on the threats that the people of the state pose in their life, in their professional life, also the criminal conduct that they are documented as engaging in, as the people of the state, whatever state. But not only that, you're bringing a child into this environment. Regardless of the fact, let's disregard the fact that I have revealed demon possession is amongst children. I'm not even addressing that because you're talking about what is nothing, demon-possessed child or not, it's a child. And you're talking about what is corruption, delinquency. You're placing them into a dangerous environment. You are threatening the life of that child while you are targeting the ordinary target individual. You're monitoring that target individual with the government who is subject to this level of criminal conduct on an ongoing basis, who is human and very well may flip a gasket while you're holding the hand of a child. And then what's the news headline? Because you don't know about federal group stalking and monitoring, and what you see on the news is, oh my goodness, she's just, or he or she's just, they just lost their mind. I mean, they just, I don't know, she just day in and day out, they're just always just, I mean, it was just a matter of time before they just lost it and just started attacking people, and I just don't understand. I mean, that's how the minions that are the people of the state, that's how the demon-possessed police that are going to be on the news with those minions that are reporting, all of them monitoring together. And this is the system that's in operation that you know nothing about. So I'm not talking about the vigilante. Okay, I'm not saying that I advocate that. You see what I'm doing. I'm keeping a cool hand. I'm keeping a cool hand because this is methodical. I'm going to prosecute clinically. While you fly over, this is documentation. And while you forget about that documentation that I've accumulated, and nobody's forgotten it because it's all coming back. You're going to federal prison and you're going for a long time. All right. So like I said, while I am playing a cool hand and I am very specifically and thoroughly laying out for the world to witness, understand what Satan is, understand how Satan operates, understand how you are aware of the presence of Satan. And it's through the environment. It's through the people who are engaging in what is specific behavior also in that environment. That's how you know them. First of all, number one. Number two, when you are around that, you're subject to criminal conduct, which you are very fully capable of enforcing your constitutional rights. Now, while I maintain a cool hand and I systematically break down this system and even show you the ways in which you are able to prosecute literally hell in a courtroom, I also, on the other hand, understand the human being that is subject to this inhumane treatment. I understand it. Okay, and that's why the minions that I'm documenting make me so sick. Okay, you make me nauseous. You disgust me. Okay, but the way I'm going to channel that disgust is through prosecuting you. But let me be clear, I'm advocating on behalf of the human beings that are the ordinary target individual who are subject to what is a very sick system. All right, and it is a matter of justice that you go to federal prison, that you lose custody of those children who you are placing into a threatening environment. You're threatening them while you're threatening the life of an American citizen. All right, you are unfit in every way. And you are talking about, and that's what I was speaking of, and this is what the people have said are constantly demonstrating, and that is just breaking down what is the conduct of the criminal conduct of the American citizen, of the entity that's engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, and the human being that's subject to it. And then you're talking about if and when you're talking about, because let me be clear, what's going on in the news, what you're told about and through the media, it's got so many twists. You're talking about what are minions that are on platforms where Satan has them positioned, and you're not going to get the truth of what's going on. And the system of federal group stalking and monitoring, as I have termed it, okay, is something that you will never hear about. You will never hear about it. You're going to see what are the police who are monitoring with the minions, okay, monitoring an American citizen who very well likely just flipped a gasket, lost it, okay, and understandably so. I understand that. I get it, okay. I am one who is here to maintain a cool hand. I'm going to break this system down. I'm going to surround it with federal law, and I'm going to systematically prosecute it. And you're going away in cages. Okay, but like I said, this is on behalf of that human being that is perhaps a little more vulnerable. Okay, a little more suspect. A little more I would say vulnerable to what is understandably losing it under that sort of criminal conduct. It is entirely criminal, and it's sick, and it is out of hell. It's designed to cause the ordinary target individual to literally lose it. And you're not crazy. It's designed to drive you crazy. If you weren't, it's designed to do that. That's the conduct of Satan. You need to understand that. That's what Satan is about. Satan is darkness. All right. Satan is an abundance of lies. Satan is wicked. Satan is twisted. Satan is miserable. Okay. And Satan wants to share that, wants to drench you, cloak you in that misery. All right. Especially while Satan cannot literally touch you. All right. You are those who have not succumbed to that condition. And this is how that demon possessed population is inferior. Okay, because you're talking about those who have succumbed to that. Satan is beneath those whom you cannot touch me. I will never serve Satan, ever. And there's nothing that Satan can do about that. And let me be clear, the demon-possessed population that is witnessing my prosecution, my breaking down, and my literally explaining everything that they're doing, it is infuriating to them because they have succumbed to it. All right, you're talking about what are sick individuals, and unfortunately, they even happen to be blood related to me. But blood relation, as you have seen, as you will learn, okay, it has nothing to do with what is a condition with regard to what separates human beings. And it is not race. It's not your economic status. These are superficial. These are vain levels of placing human beings on ways in which is impossible. You cannot place human beings on what are essentially a hierarchy, but people have done it. But I want to be clear, even that is a distraction. Let me tell you something. Satan is using any minion it can: black, white, purple, green, tan, yellow. It doesn't matter how old or how young. It doesn't matter how gray, liver spots, wrinkly, triple chin, double chin, cellulite, skinny, thin, fit, pretty, ugly, hideous. Okay, mental handicap. High, drunk, it does not matter. You're talking about driving a Porsche, driving a broke down bucket Honda, okay? It does. Then let me be clear, that's the reality. But Satan wants you to be distracted with the ways in which we're separated by race and class, okay, and political affiliation. That's all a superficial, guys. It's all a game, okay? The reality is that they're all minions and they're all on the same team. I just want to be clear on that. Darkness. They are positioned. Satan is engaging in Satan is real. Satan has a very real agenda. And it is that which is I've shown in what is criminal. But this criminal conduct, again, it's demonic activity. And for such a time as this, it is necessary that it is known on a wide scale what Satan is up to, how Satan is engaging in what it is up to, and those who are engaging in that conduct as Satan. Satan is present through people. Satan is a spirit. So you're not going to see some levitating spiritual object. You're going to see people, faces. Okay? That's Satan. All right. Satan is a matter of, amongst people, it's a matter of demon possession. All right. And so you are aware of that demon possession through the environment and the demonic behavior that they engage in. And it is a very precise formula, unmistakable. Okay. And those demons are also in the custody of children. And with regard to what is prosecution, they are both threatening the life of those children and threatening the life of an American citizen. And that is the grounds on which you have the people of the state, which shall, again, you're going to remove children from such a threat. All right. That is a direct threat to those children. And that's not the only way they're threatening the lives of those children. You're talking about what is a demon that would even engage in this pattern of conduct. You're a threat to the life of the children, of that child, of those children. But anyway, it's currently 10:04 p.m. And this is speaking to, I just wanted to go into that because that is what is so despicable about the entity while I'm witnessing it. And I am speaking the truth about what the entity is engaging in, and also making it widely known what is demonic activity, the truth of what is demonic activity. And this is serving for your ongoing knowledge and your everyday life. Okay. But also you're witnessing me prosecute it. Okay. Well, I'll keep a cool hand. Dealing with what are infuriated demons. All right. And I just want them to keep that same energy when I play the tape back and you're going to federal prison. I want you to keep that same energy. All right. While I was all kind of bees and I got your bee. This bee is going to send you to federal prison. All right. While the entity is flying over me by helicopter and you are engaging in what is threatening me. That this entity that's engaging in this conduct, it's evidence against the entity that is stalking and terrorizing and harassing in that manner. This bee is sending you to federal prison, okay? While I play a cool hand, okay? That's what this is about. All right, so anyway, it's currently 10:05 p.m. and that is substantial video that I captured. The entity flying over for in excess of 10 minutes. And the entity is not going anywhere, engaging in that ongoing stalking conduct on an ongoing basis in concert with the people of the state. All right, I'm at the Ontario Museum of History and Arts. It is 10:05 p.m. and this is P.O.C.